given the weather, it's quite uplifting to see such an amazing turnout on time. So I welcome all our guests, generous sponsors, our panelists, and members of the association. A quick shout out to our national committee members, regional chairman, Dr. Prasad and the team. These are the faces behind most of the work ANMI does. Most of the queries, representations, submissions are a result of their efforts. The presence here reinforces ANMI's belief in collaborative growth for the industry. Today's event, Mapping Financial Goals Through Market Experts, hosted by ANMI EIRC in association with the Economic Times, is a reflection of our common commitment towards empowering market participants through growth and learning. With the support of our sponsors, NSE as our gold sponsor, Smiths Limited as our silver sponsor, and Excel Stock Broking, our associate sponsor, we are truly surrounded by partners who share our vision of fostering a culture of shared learning. Our chief guest for the evening, Mr. Sriram Krishnan, Chief Business Development Officer at NSE. Sir, thank you for joining us today. Our guest of honor for the evening and our president, Dr. Vijay Mehta. Thank you for all the efforts that you put in this dynamically changing regulatory landscape. Your efforts go a long way in driving members towards positive changes that come from time to time. Now, with the stage all set, I would request our Eastern Region Chairman, Mr. Sandeep Jain, to take the stage, please.
Respected Mr. Sriram Krishnan, Dr. Vijay Mehta ji, members of the National Council, regional chairman, members from the media, fellow ANMI members, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of ANMI EIRC, I welcome you all to this exciting evening based on a theme called Mapping Financial Goals Through Market Experts. This event has been possible in association with Economic Times, along with the support of our sponsors, namely NSE, Excel Stock Broking, as well as Smiths. Thanks to the sponsors for supporting our vision and helping us. My heart swells with pride as we created history a day before. Our ISRO scientists made us possible that we landed on the southern region of the moon, and India became the first nation in the world to do that. A big round of applause for all the ISRO scientists. They deserve it, and history has been created. ANMI is the voice of capital markets. It's been working since last 25 years, and we have been a bridge between regulators, exchanges, market participants, and the investors for fostering the development of the capital markets and the overall development of the investing scenario in India. ANMI regularly conducts such seminars and events for the betterment of the capital market and for the development of our philosophy. Today, we are fortunate that we are having our National President, Mr. Vijay Mehta, Dr. Vijay Mehta amongst us, who has traveled from Delhi, and along with all the NC members who are there to attend the board meeting tomorrow. We welcome you all for this event. India is a land of opportunities. We believe that through proper research and financial planning, by making and by targeting good goals, we can achieve the goal of financial wealth creation. We are the future. world is seeing India as the destination to invest. It's amazing that we are now contributing 16% of the world's GDP. That's quite a phenomenal number. And that shows the commitment of all the investors, whether it's global or domestic, towards India. Mapping financial goals through market experts. Today's theme is totally encircling that theme of investments and wealth creation journey. Today, we have an elite panel of 3 eminent speakers, Mr. Vikas Sethi, Mr. Vishwesh Chauhan, Vishwesh Bhai is there, and Vikas ji is joining shortly, Mr. Sharad Awasthi. All of the 3 people, they don't need any introduction. They are very famous. They appear regularly on business channels, and they have been stalwarts in the capital market. Welcome you all. I'm sure after hearing all the eminent speakers today, the audience will be quite enlightened and enriched with their knowledge, and they will be taking away key takeaways from this event. I extend a warm welcome to all of you, and may we all succeed. Thank you. Now I would request to play this NSE's corporate video now.
Almost 3 decades ago, like the proverbial song, we ushered in a new start, a new day. What we did was momentous. We converted a trading activity into an investment movement, and an isolated regional market became a pan-India canvas. We are NSE, the stock exchange that changed the nation. We identified 3 clusters that would drive our markets and propel our nation. At the core is technology to ensure smooth and effortless trading in metros and across the nation. On every touch point and device, our technology is robust, dynamic, but always ahead of the curve. Retail or institutional, investors are our guiding light. We enable them with updated, credible information and filter out unwanted noise and data. We are NSE, the stock exchange that changed investing. We constantly create new products, new services, and an empowering environment for investors to access a complete basket of asset classes. To complete the service basket, we redefined our footprint. We started in India, reaching every village and city, and then we went global because our investor of today wanted a world view. And well, the world is turning its spotlight on India. Who better than us to aid this? India, window to the world. Our flagship index, the Nifty 50, is the defining symbol of India. We are NSE, the stock exchange that changed perceptions. There's more to us. Our financial literacy programs across schools, colleges, and professionals makes us amongst India's largest educational enterprises. Our CSR initiatives in child welfare, elder care, and hygiene cut across a large swathe of India. Our approach, transparency, governance, and efficiency. Our focus, India. Our canvas, the world. Our inspiration, our investor. In our world, the end of one day is the start of another. As a new decade dawns for NSE, a brighter one dawns for India. NSE, an investment for India.
Shriram sir, I must say, this is an amazing presentation. Kudos to your team. Now I would request Mr. Sriram Krishnan, Chief Business Development Officer, NSE, to please come on the dais, please. Big round of applause for Mr. Sriram Krishnan, please. I would now call Mr. Sanjay Jain from Excel Stock Broking to please come and felicitate Mr. Krishnan with a memento. Thank you, Sanjay ji. I would now request Mr. Ravindra Sanghai to please come forward and present a bouquet to Mr. Sriram Krishnan. Sriram sir, the mic is all yours now. We want to hear your vision, your views, please.
Senior industry professionals, AMFI committee members, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to narrate my own personal experience during this opportunity to interact with you today. So I qualified as a chartered accountant in 1996. And my father was always of the opinion that probably I will practice on my own. But to his disappointment, I decided to join industry. And I told him that actually I want to work in the industry for a few years and then maybe I may decide to practice. He said nothing. He just smiled and said, okay, go ahead, get a good job and do well. But he did not realize that there was a twist. So I was in Chennai back in those days. I come from Tamil Nadu. I've studied all over the state of Tamil Nadu. And my dad retired and settled down in Chennai. Little did he know that my job was going to take me to Mumbai. Obviously, I was the only child, and it was a big moment for my parents to let me go to Mumbai. I still remember the day when I had to take the train to Mumbai to join my first company, which was Stockholding Corporation of India Limited. That day, obviously, my mother was full of tears and emotions. My father was not so emotionally charged. He was peaceful. And I asked him for some words of wisdom or any advice that he wanted to give me before I took leave. And he told me only one thing. He said, I have worked for one full generation, which is about 25 years. I've worked very hard to make money, to be able to educate you very well, and to make you much more successful than me. Just remember that. We have struggled a lot, we've made a lot of sacrifices. So apart from the values and beliefs we have tried to instill in you, I do expect that after another generation, which is after another 25 years, you will be sending your son abroad. In 2022, that moment also came. So my son decided to go to Canada, and I remember having this discussion with my dad that, one generation has gone past, 25 years have gone past, and now my son wants to go abroad, wants to go to Canada to pursue his future. And when I was seeing my son off at the airport, he also turned around and said, anything that you want to tell me, Daddy, before I leave? I remembered that same moment which I experienced 25 years back. And I told him that apart from the values and beliefs which we have instilled in you, I expect you to remember the story that I told you about my father, the advice that my father gave me. So my son turned around and asked me, no, I know that story, now please don't repeat it. I know that, I remember. Your dad said that he's sending you to Mumbai and he wants your son to go abroad. Now, where will you want my son to go? To Mars or Moon? Just clarify that, right? So, but the objective of sharing this, is to convey that simple summary, which is that we all work to make money, but it's very important to make the money work for us. If we don't make the money work for us, it's no use working to make the money. So this simple theory, we often ignore, we often forget, and then we realize after many years that we have not deployed the money cleverly enough, optimally enough, and therefore we are not able to achieve some of our dreams and objectives, right? So that's what financial planning is all about. And when I look back, I also had this conversation with my dad that, I'm going to join the National Stock Exchange. So he was perplexed. Just to share, my dad worked all his life for just one company, which was State Bank of India. All his life. So he could not understand why I quit Stockholding Corporation and joined Franklin Templeton. He could not understand why I quit Franklin Templeton and joined HSBC. He could not understand why I quit HSBC and joined Citi. He definitely could not understand why I quit Citi and joined Deutsche Bank. And he was totally baffled when I told him I'm going to join NSE. Because his question to me was, okay, what are you going to do in NSE? So I told him I'm joining as a Chief Business Development Officer. So he said, Chief Business Development Officer, that means you're going to increase the sales. Is that what it is? Obviously that's not what it is, but I did not want to give him a complex explanation. So I said, yeah, something like that. And he said, but they have 99.9% market share, right? So what are you going to do? Get that 0.01%? Then I realized that I have to give this complex explanation. So I gave him the complex explanation. He said, please join NSE. I'm very happy that you are joining NSE, so long as you are clear about what you are expected to do, which is manage relationships. There are about 7,000 to 8,000 relationships to be managed. And if managing relationships brings you joy, it's a great job to take up. I told him that the exchange is the convergence of investors, intermediaries, and issuers, the 3 I's. And my responsibility is to manage the 3 I's, devote enough attention and time, and be humble, be respectful to each of the participants within these 3 I's. And so I said, my responsibility is to bring in a culture of humility, a culture of politeness, respect, a culture of learning, and a culture of taking this organization in the right direction in terms of what can be achieved further. I think the video from the corporate marketing team has summarized what NSE has been doing thus far. Certainly it's an organization of national importance, and it has a definite international stature. I've traveled in the last 8.5 months to various countries and met with the 3 I's everywhere: investors, intermediaries, and issuers. And I can tell you that we are the world's envy as a country and also as an exchange. People will give an arm and a leg to achieve even 25% of what we have achieved. We have created a platform, and you, the intermediaries, are largely responsible for making this platform what it is today. And we continue to shine every single day. 25 years back or 30 years back, I don't even know how somebody could have conceived a concept of electronic trading. NSE was the first in the whole world to introduce the concept of electronic trading. So I think we have a glorious past. NSE having companies on the platform, and these companies, if you look at it, have raised about $200 billion collectively at today's FX rates. And the market value of these companies is almost $3.5 trillion. That means a growth of about 35 times on an average. Obviously, this is an average, and there are companies that have grown by 500 times, and there are companies that have not done well. But on balance, I think this platform has helped people raise capital, which is what it was set up for. Managing money is all about identifying where one needs to deploy this money. Obviously, there are different asset classes. Equity is not the only asset class. Therefore, NSE has brought about products across various asset classes. That's the other important thing about the exchange. We have today fixed income, we have currency, we have commodities. We are looking at carbon credits, we are looking at electricity derivatives, and we are looking at everything else that may be needed going forward. I'm not an expert in managing money, but I'm thankful that there was a concept called mutual funds that became popular during the last 25 years of my working life. Because unfortunately, all the institutions where I have worked, they've had very strict rules around employees' investments. I was never allowed to invest in the capital markets. It was very challenging for me to invest directly into stocks and shares. So I took the easy route out. I just invested in mutual funds. But thank God, mutual funds did well. And that's how I could survive, manage the money effectively enough. And where did the mutual funds invest? Predominantly into the trading platform of NSE, right? Into all the stocks and opportunities available on the NSE. So therefore, today I feel, thank God the NSE was available during these 25 years. What would I have done? How would I have managed my money but for this institution? So in summary, I feel, managing money is about understanding risks. Managing money is about being blessed with a market which is effective, which is efficient, and which is innovative. Most importantly, it has to be a transparent and safe market as well. I think NSE over the years has helped build an efficient capital market in India. If you just look at the number of companies listed on NSE across the main board and what we call NSE Emerge or the SME platform, we almost have about 2,500, 2,600 companies today. The SME platform is growing all the time. While we have 347 companies today, which have raised about 7,000 crores, the market capitalization of these 347 companies is almost about 60,000 crores. And I was just discussing the other day that there are 600,000 SME companies in India, and so many of them want to raise capital. Where will they go? Banks are not ready to lend to SMEs. NBFCs will lend, but they will charge a bomb. Where will they go? Governments of the country across the various states have realized that the only place to go is the stock exchange. And that's why, as participants of the capital markets, each one of us has something to be really proud of. And we can all be very, very, proud of our contributions to this space. We have made it what it has become today. A very, very cherished institution, a cherished capital markets in the whole world, honestly. So when I go abroad, like I said, people always tell me, how did you guys manage to build this? How did you guys bring the liquidity? How do you guys launch a new product and it becomes so big so quickly? So I only tell them that we are blessed with the best possible 3 I's, the best possible investors, the best possible intermediaries, and the best possible issuers. Of course, in ensuring this, there is a bit of quality control that the exchange deploys. There is a bit of regulatory oversight that at times appears very strict. But I think SEBI have a job to do, and so have we as exchanges. And collectively, we are trying to ensure that the platform is safe, the platform cannot be gamified, the platform cannot be made a mockery of. What we have constructed with great care, we need to protect. I think this is the foundation before even anyone can think about managing money efficiently. There are very experienced panelists today. I'm as eager as you are to listen to them and to learn about how one can make money effectively, efficiently in these times. So with that, I would conclude my speech And I want to thank ANMI for giving me this opportunity to be here to participate in this event and to interact with so many of you. Thank you, ANMI. Thank you to each and every one of you.
Thank you, sir. It was quite nice to hear how simply you integrated your life journey with today's topic, that is mapping financial goals. It reminded me of when I was about to complete my education in computer engineering, and then I told my dad, what should I be doing? Should I go into tech or markets? And then you got a chance to explain. I was told, let's sit and have a talk. But I'm glad where I am, and to take things for our next section of the evening. This event today goes beyond the discussions and presentations. As we convene under the banner of ANMI Eastern Region, it's a platform where we will celebrate the efforts of our National Committee members and the entire team who work day in and day out to propel our association and members for this particular section of the evening. May I request our alternate president, Vinod Goyal ji, to please take the stage.
Thanks, Kaushik. Friends, we have today our president present here, Sri Vijay Mehta ji. उनको इंट्रोड्यूस करना है, तो कुछ शब्दों में या कुछ पलों में तो नहीं कर पाऊँगा, फिर भी चेष्टा करेंगे। कारण यह है कि उनकी पर्सनालिटी, उनका एक्सपीरियंस और उनका कार्यक्षेत्र इतना बड़ा है और विस्तृत रहा है कि उसको कुछ शब्दों में ढालना बहुत ही मुश्किल है, सब लोग जानते हैं। तो मैं चेष्टा करता हूं कि कितना अधिकतम उनका परिचय मैं आप लोगों को दे सकूं। सर, आवर प्रेसिडेंट इज ए सेकेंड जनरेशन स्टॉक ब्रोकर, इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकर, कॉर्पोरेट एडवाइजर. Dr. Vijay Mehta, the new ANMI president for 2023-24, is a multi-dimensional personality considered as an expert on economy, capital markets, and international affairs. He has been associated with the governing board of ANMI for long and has been one of its key think tanks. Currently, Dr. Vijay Mehta is also the Honorary Consul General of the Republic of Romania in India, appointed by the government of Romania. This is another feather in his cap. And another feather in his cap is Dr. Mehta has earlier served as chairman of Jaipur Stock Exchange. You remember earlier we had 22 stock exchanges and Jaipur Stock Exchange, director of Delhi Stock Exchange, and a member of the Regional Advisory Board of BSE, besides being a director on the boards of many corporates and NGOs. Now I am coming to the political clout he has, and which we must exploit. Sorry, sir, if I have exceeded my... Dr. Vijay Mehta has also held the honor of accompanying the Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi on his trip to Munich in June 2022 and USA in September 2019. Earlier too, he accompanied Mr. Modi on his trip to Stockholm and London in April 2018. Vijay ji draws inspiration from his late father, Sri Jaitan Mehta ji. Just now we talked two persons about the generation of father and son. So, as Mr. Ramkrishnan also told. So, he also draws the inspiration from his late father, Sri Jayachand Mehta ji, who was a leading stockbroker in pre-partition India and the founder director of Punjab Stock Exchange in 1937, now known as Lahore Stock Exchange. The ITM University Gwalior has set up a gold medal in memory of his late father to be given every year to the most enterprising student of the year. Dr. Mehta is founder chairman of Mapcom Securities Limited, by which we know him more, member of BSE and NSE, serving its clients since 1983. So actually the NSE started operation in 1995 or 4. He is serving the clients 12 years back. And his another company, Mapcon Capital Markets Limited, is a widely held BSE listed company, extending services in the management of IPO, corporate valuations, and wealth management. Mapcon has had the distinction of managing more than 200 IPOs, including divestment of Delhi and Jaipur Stock Exchange. His vast experience of managing assets, equities, and merchant banking platforms earlier earned him the coveted place of North India's largest private sector merchants. So with these few words, sir, I invite you for your deliberation and guidance to our members today.
Thank you, Vinodji. Mr. Krishnan, my colleagues on the board, ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy that I am here in Calcutta today as the ANMI president for the year 23-24. Before I go on to anything, I would like to echo what Sandeep Jain, our chairman for Eastern Region, said, that we need to celebrate that today India is the only country and the first country in the world who has been successfully able to put its Chandrayaan on the south pole of the moon. Now, there are two things which are to be seen from here. Number one is that this achievement has been done with a cost of just about rupees 612 crores. And when America launched it, or when other countries who are launching it today, they have done it at a cost which is almost about 10 times higher than what India has put it today. The second point which I would like to say is that America, when they launched their first satellite on the moon, was in 1960. It is just a coincidence that America became a superpower in 1980 onwards. So we can easily compare when we are talking about 2047, that we are looking at an India which will become almost the number one economy of the world in the next 20 years if we have to follow the history. This is not a mean achievement. Now, when we see all around India, we find a very substantial change. And the biggest change in this is about the attitude. Today, when we go, all of us go abroad, or we see the kind of development, then we all feel proud of our country, and not only us. The world over, the respect for Indians have changed. And this kind of change is also getting reflected into the stock markets. We are all well aware that we are almost now close to the lifetime high. And some of the people are predicting that this lifetime high is not really the real lifetime high which we are going to see in the next few years. We are expecting our stock markets to be at par with the growth of the country. Today, India is the fourth largest economy in the world, and it is expected that in the next about 3 years, this is what the Prime Minister has said, that in the next 3 years, we will become the third largest economy of the world after America and China, and we will be able to beat Germany very soon, and then after that we have to just beat Japan. Today we have the largest number of foreign reserves, and we have, I think it is about more than 630 billion. Many of you are probably not aware that before the English, before independence, they took about $4 trillion they looted from India, and they took it to their country. And even after what they had taken away, if I remember correctly, we were getting $2 against 1 rupee, whereas today the price is 83 rupees. I personally, when I started my career, one of my very good friends from Bombay Stock Exchange, when I asked him where should I invest, he said, Vijay, you invest in dollars. I have personally bought dollars at 8 rupees. This is, I'm talking just about 25, 30 years back. And I still feel today, I can proudly say that we can, today, what we have seen in terms of dollar-rupee relationship, probably this is the peak. The way our economy is growing, we are going to be having a much better value of our rupee. And with that strengthening, with the kind of results we are producing, I think India investment market will continue to grow and bring very, very smart returns. When we were there as brokers, we were just talking to some of my old friends, brokers here who are sitting here, that at that time we could think that probably a broker who has made about anywhere between 2 to 5 crores a year is probably something out of the world. And today, Zerodha, the stockbroking firm, has 22-23, their profit is 2,340 crores. And is run by a guy who is just about 35 years old. This is the kind, and I know the net worth of the brokers today. Some of the brokers, they have got deposit of more than 20,000 crores as margin. I think Mr. Krishnan will bear me out if I am not, there are about, I can personally feel there are about more than 100 brokers who are earning about more than 100 crores a year. Many of them are sitting in the hall also. So, this is the kind of market is today. We have become intermediaries like America, where the head of the brokers or the stock exchange was included into the advisory board of the President of America. Stock markets are becoming very, very important. In fact, on behalf of ANMI, I am planning, or we are all planning to make a representation. If you just do a little bit of maths, which I am going to tell you. According to the official record, I am going to talk everything official. According to the official record, there are about 12 crores DP accounts. Presuming that multiplication, not much of multiplication is there, I presume that each DP holder has got 2 adults dependent on him. One is obviously wife, in most of the cases, and the other one is a child, daughter or son. So it means that the total people who are associated with the stock market is about more than 30 crores. And all of them are educated, intelligent, and they know the economy of India. I was proposing to our board that we should write a letter to the Prime Minister that today we constitute, the capital market constitute more than 33% of the total voting population of this country. In the year 2019, 80 crore people voted. And if we go by the generations which have been added, this year the maximum number of voters will be about 90 crores. And out of that 90 crores, more than 30 crores will be those people who will be associated with the stock market, and none of them is a unpad, or you can say all of them are the cream of the society. So look at the strength we have. It is this kind of background that we should all be proud of. And it has all happened with the efforts of millions of people who have been associated with the market in running the markets, which include stock exchange, clearing corporations, banking, and stockbroker as intermediaries. I have been representing in unofficial talks with SEBI and also with the government that this is the only section of the industry which has no NPAs. We are today, banks are lending money to those organizations who are perpetual defaulters. A number of industrial houses, either they will negotiate one-time settlement, and this is one industry where there is absolutely no chances of being an NPA. And still the government is not funding this industry, and despite having received no fund from the industry, our brokers are depositing margins which are more than 20,000 crore of rupees in terms of real white money. This is a business where no cash is produced. We are the people who are really the pillars of the economy, because there is no cash transaction. And our transactions are all reported to the income tax, and we pay we pay it under 7 heads. So we are the largest voting population of this country. We are among the very large employment providers of this country. I think the kind of traders I see with them, it's about, some of the brokers are having about 2,000 traders. What is the kind of money we are talking about? And we pay the highest taxes. And we are all completely young professionals, the new generations, and we are all educated people. There is no one who has not qualified. And we are under the most stringent rules and regulations and penalties which are given to us at every step. I would like to place on record here that your association, ANMI, which I am heading and where I have wonderful colleagues on the board, we have made 42 submissions till date to SEBI on behalf of the brokers. If we go by the law of averages, it means by the time my term ends in March, we would have made almost about 100 submissions to ANMI on behalf of our brokers community. This is the kind of work which ANMI is doing for all of you. There is not even our chairman of our committees, they are talking to SEBI on regular basis. SEBI consults us, and we are standing like a pillar for our brokers, friends. And there are a number of provisions in which, whichever problem has been brought to us, there are a number of provisions we have been fighting with SEBI in every meeting. And we have been telling them, like, let's take the case of penalties. And I think I have been informed that we will be most probably successful also. We have told them that the penalties which are levied due to a technical fault, or the penalties which are not affecting anyone materially, those penalties should not be levied on brokers. And instead of that, the brokers can be given a few points. If a broker is a regular defaulter and getting more than ABC, XYZ points, then you can start levying penalties on him. But otherwise, this method of putting penalties for a matter of, I was just told by somebody that when the inspection was held, there was, just because the board was not put, he was put up a penalty. For small things, penalties are being put, but then we are fighting for it. In fact, I would request Mr. Krishnan also to take up our cause whenever they talk to SEBI. Because as I said, all of us are law-abiding citizens, all of us are paying our taxes regularly, all of us are providing employment to millions of people, and all of us are making great contribution to this economy of this country. We have just, at ANMI, we have started the concept of setting up an ANMI Institute for technology and skill development, because I can foresee the kind of scenario which is now emerging for the broking industry. There is a shortage of skilled people. We bring people, we train them in our own offices. They are coming from different disciplines. But we do not have any institute. There is one by SEBI, NISM, and there is one by BSc also. But there is nothing from our own broker community. we are going to start this Skill Development Institute where we would like to train the coming generation. And we over the time period, I'm not talking about today, but in a period of about 5 years plus, our certificate will carry the value which will immediately get you employment with a broking organization. And then the second point is technology. I have seen that today we cannot do without technology. All the old people who did not adopt the technology in their offices, today they are becoming outdated. They cannot anymore operate on the markets. And technology in which India is number one, and which has helped the Chandrayaan to go so high. This is a backbone of our industry. So these are the two major points on which ANMI has already started work. Besides that, there are a number of other points on which ANMI is working. I would like to assure you that ANMI is your organization, and we solicit your cooperation, and we look forward to your suggestions. Whenever you feel that something which should not be done is happening, please write to us, and we will make your point further go ahead to the regulators from where the relief will be sought. I think this is a great event which is happening today. I would like to really thank Mr. Sandeep Jain, who is the chairman of Eastern Region, and Vinod Goyalji, who is the alternate president this year from here, and Naveen Agarwal, who is our director on the board from this side, and lots of friends and brokers who have come here. There is, as I said, that the markets are going to do very well. How do you make money in that? Our dear friend, Mr. Vishesh Chauhan, who is the darling of the investors, and Mr. Sethi, and I think Kaushik Daga is your homegrown expert, and Mr. Sethi has just entered, and all these experts whom we see every morning with our regular cup of tea, they are the ones who are going. First of all, they are all here. I would like you to give a big applause to our main speakers, Mr. Chauhan and Mr. Sethi. Please stand up. Sethi ji, Chauhan, let's give them a big hand. So I am sure that you were all waiting to hear from them, and I am also very confident that they will explain the whole thing to you, and I would request them to give you a few tips, especially to the brokers here who have contributed to make this function a grand success. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Grateful to you.
मित्रों, अब सम्मान करने का अवसर है. मैं अजीत जी खंडेलवाल, हमारे फाउंडर एनमी के और पास्ट प्रेसिडेंट से अनुरोध करूंगा कि श्री मेहता जी को शॉल उड़ा के उनका सम्मान करें. मित्रों, अब जो अपने एनमी के डायरेक्टर्स हैं उनको सम्मान करने का अवसर आया है. इसके पहले मैं एक छोटा सा इसको एटमॉस्फेयर को इजी करने के लिए बोलना चाहता हूँ कि आप जितने भी यहाँ पर हमारे प्रेजेंट हैं वो अपनी अपनी कंपनी के डायरेक्टर हैं या एनमी के भी डायरेक्टर हैं. तो थोड़ा सा डायरेक्टर शब्द पर विवेचन करना है कि काफ़ी कोर्ट डिसीजंस हुए हैं और काफ़ी डिस्प्यूट्स हुए हैं डायरेक्टर में. तो कभी बात उठी कि भाई डायरेक्टर कंपनी का एम्प्लॉई है क्या, क्योंकि आप लोग जानते हो कंपनी तो एक आर्टिफिशियल जुडिशियल पर्सन है, तो इससे अपने आप काम नहीं कर सकती, तो डायरेक्टर के थ्रू ही करेगी. तो ये प्रश्न उठा कि साहब डायरेक्टर कंपनी का एम्प्लॉई है क्या, वो भी एक तो इशू बन गया. फिर ये हुआ कि डायरेक्टर कंपनी का एजेंट है क्या, वो भी इशू नहीं समझ में आया। तो थैंक्स टू वन जस्टिस इन हाई कोर्ट हु वेल डिफाइंड द डायरेक्टर एज कि डायरेक्टर्स आर द आईज, ईयर्स एंड माउथ ऑफ द कंपनी। तो इस बात को ख्याल रखते हुए अब हम डायरेक्टरों का परिचय करवाएंगे। अच्छा, इसके पहले ये बता दूं, मैं जिन भी डायरेक्टर्स को बुलाऊंगा या जिनके बारे में भी कह रहा हूँ, वे एनमी में वर्षों से हैं, अपनी सेवाएं दे रहे हैं वॉलंटरी, स्वेच्छा से। ये कोई प्लेस ऑफ प्रॉफिट नहीं है। दूसरी चीज़, हर व्यक्ति बिजी है, अपने आप में दिग्गज है। जो अभी मेहता साहब ने कहा कि इतनी इतनी करोड़ की नेटवर्थ और इतना इतना कमा रहे हैं, वो लोग हम लोगों को एनमी के कार्य के लिए सुपुर्द अपना समय दे रहे हैं और अपनी एनर्जी दे रहे हैं। वो एक बहुत बड़ी काबिल तारीफ है। और हर व्यक्ति अपने आप में अपने क्षेत्र में दिग्गज है, डॉयन जिसको अंग्रेजी में बोलते हैं, चाहे वो कैश मार्केट का हो, रिटेल का हो, चाहे आर्बिट्रेज हो, चाहे प्रोप्राइटरी ट्रेडिंग हो, चाहे म्यूचुअल फंड हो, चाहे टेक्निकल एनालिस्ट हो, चाहे आपका ये म्यूचुअल पीएमएस हो। हर क्षेत्र में उन लोगों का दबदबा है। तो ऐसे लोगों को मैं बुला रहा हूँ। तो सबसे पहले अभी हमने करंट प्रेसिडेंट का सम्मान किया। इमीडिएट पास्ट प्रेसिडेंट आप लोग जानते हो, ये लायंस क्लब, रोटरी, इसमें आईपीपी एक परमानेंट पोस्ट ही होती है उनका। जब भी कोई छपेगा इनविटेशन या ब्रोचोर तो उसमें आईपीपी बोल के ही छपेगा। तो हमारे इमीडिएट पास्ट प्रेसिडेंट कमलेश भाई शाह को बुलाना चाहूँगा। कमलेश भाई शाह। मित्रों, कमलेश भाई शाह चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हैं और इनको तो मैं सलाम करता हूँ कि हम लोग इतने रेगुलेटेड आदमी हैं, ब्रोकर्स जो अपना कंप्लायंस नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। इनकी शेयर ब्रोकिंग कंपनी लिस्टेड है स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में, तो वो सेबी का एलओडीआर का और पालन करते हैं। तो कमलेश भाई साहब को अपने रविंद्र सिंह जी से बोलूँगा कि आके उनको शाल उड़ा के सम्मानित करें। इनकी कंपनी का नाम है ये शेयर इंडिया सिक्योरिटीज़ listed company, or by the way, I should not tell, but the price is ruling in 4 figures. आशीष भाई अजमेरा जी वेस्टर्न रीजन से डायरेक्टर हैं। इनकी कंपनी अजमेरा एसोसिएट्स है। तो आशीष भाई का क्या है कि शेयर ब्रोकिंग तो इनका साइड बिजनेस है। ही इज़ इन द हॉस्पिटलिटी एंड बिल्डिंग्स ऑल्सो। इनकी गोवा में भी लग्जरी एकोमोडेशंस हैं। कभी आप लोगों को जाना हो गोवा तो आप आशीष भाई से बात करें। इनफैक्ट आई हैव स्टेड इन हिज रिसोर्ट। सो आई विल नाउ कॉल अपॉन श्री सुधीर जी जैन टू प्लीज कम फॉरवर्ड एंड अजमेरा जी का सॉल उड़ा के सम्मान करें। कमलेश भाई सराफ को बुलाना चाहूँगा। श्री कमलेश भाई श्रॉफ इतने यंग और इनर्जेटिक हैं। पिछली जो एनमी की इंटरनेशनल कन्वेंशन बॉम्बे में हुई उसका पूरा श्रेय इनको जाता है एंड ही वॉज अपलॉडेड बाय ऑल। इट वॉज मेमोरेबल इवेंट सर। और हमेशा ये जो भी कार्य गतिविधि रहती है एनमी की उसके लिए हमेशा तत्पर रहते हैं। तो मैं श्री राजेश बजाज जी को बोलूँगा कि आके श्राफ जी को शॉल उड़ा के सम्मानित करें। राजेश बजाज जी, इज ही हियर? सो आई विल कम। राजेश जी, मित्रों मैं अब जिनको बुलाने जा रहा हूं, श्री नीरव गांधी जी। नीरव गांधी जी डायरेक्टर हैं और इनके बारे में मैं अगर ये कहूं, प्लीज़ इनके बारे में अगर मैं कहूं कि ये एनमी के संकट मोचक है तो कोई अतिशयोक्ति नहीं होगी। आज बम्बई में रहते हैं, कभी भी कोई कॉल आ जाए, कभी भी कोई सर्कुलर आ जाए और ये हो कि साहब एनमी को रिप्रेजेंट करना है आधे घंटे के अंतराल पे, तो ये हर समय तत्पर रहते हैं। और इनका एक और ख़ास परिचय बताऊं, हिज इन लॉज आर बेस्ड इन कलकत्ता। तो जैसे अमिताभ बच्चन को लोग फोनली बोलते हैं ना कि बंगाल का जवाई, तो ये हमारे कलकत्ता के जवाई भी है। तो मैं श्री संदीप जैन जी को कहूँगा कि आके इनका सम्मान करें शॉल उड़ा के। संदीप जी प्लीज़। श्री विजय सिंघानिया जी नहीं आए? अच्छा, आ रहे हैं क्या? अच्छा। श्री सुधीर अग्रवाल जी, सुधीर अग्रवाल जी दिल्ली से डायरेक्टर हैं और इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स में भी काफ़ी एक्टिव हैं। चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट तो है ही, और इन्होंने इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट के काफ़ी इलेक्शन लड़े हैं और उसमें रीजनल काउंसिल और सेंट्रल काउंसिल में भी चुने गए हैं। तो सुधीर भाई का ऐसा पर्सनालिटी है, इनका हम लोग यूज़ करेंगे। इनकी गवर्नमेंट में भी अप्रोच है। तो मैं श्री के डागा जी को अनुरोध करूँगा कि श्री सुधीर जी को शॉल उड़ा के सम्मानित करें। श्री अश्वनी गोयल जी, अश्वनी गोयल जी दिल्ली से हैं और इनका लीगल पकड़ बहुत मजबूत है। आप लोगों को याद होगा पीछे जो कुछ पेनल्टी लगी थी नाजायज़, इन्होंने और इनके वकील ने मिलकर छुड़वा दी थी और उसी को दृष्टांत बना के दूसरों की भी छूटी थी। तो अश्वनी गोयल जी का हम लोग आगे चल के काफ़ी ये करेंगे। मैं लड़िया जी को अनुरोध करूंगा कि आके श्री अश्वनी गोयल जी को शॉल उड़ा के सम्मानित करें। लड़िया जी। श्री जीपी अग्रवाल जी साहब दिल्ली से। काफ़ी सीनियर हैं जीपी अग्रवाल जी और इनका काफ़ी योगदान, इनकी कंपनी का नाम है PFIL सिक्योरिटीज़। मैं श्री यशवंत गोयल से अनुरोध करूंगा कि श्री जीपी अग्रवाल जी को शॉल उड़ा के सम्मानित करें। श्री के सुरेश जी, सुरेश जी अपने भूतपूर्व प्रेसिडेंट हैं एनमी के, तो सब जानते ही हैं इनके कार्यकाल में जो प्रगति हुई है। ये भी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हैं और इनका जो सबसे खास परिचय जो आप लोग नोट कर लीजिएगा कि इंडिया सीमेंट्स कैपिटल के ये MD हैं, जो कि इंडिया सीमेंट ग्रुप जो PIL में है ना, चेन्नई सुपर किंग्स, उसके ये मालिक हैं कंपनी के। किसी को धोनी से काम हो या IPL का टिकट विकेट कहीं का लेना हो तो इनको याद कर लीजिएगा। तो मैं श्री राकेश सोमानी जी को अनुरोध करूंगा। राकेश सोमानी जी भी हमारे पूर्व प्रेसिडेंट एनमी के, उनको अनुरोध करेंगे कि श्री सुरेश जी को शॉल उड़ा के सम्मानित करें। श्री अनिल मानेकला शाह जी, अनिल भाई अहमदाबाद से बिलोंग करते हैं और आप लोगों को पता है कि अपने प्रधानमंत्री और गृह मंत्री दोनों वहीं से बिलोंग करते हैं, तो आप उनकी अप्रोच का अंदाज़ा लगा लो। और दूसरा जो सबसे बड़ा इनका प्लस पॉइंट है कि ये जो गिफ्ट सिटी बनी है, जिसमें अपना निफ्टी SGX निफ्टी अभी ट्रांसफ़र हुआ है 1 जुलाई से, वो गिफ्ट सिटी में कंस्ट्रक्शन स्टेज से ये जुड़े हुए हैं और किसी का मन चले कि भाई गिफ्ट सिटी में मेंबरशिप लेना है तो आपसे संपर्क कर सकते हैं। तो यह है कि मैं नवीन अग्रवाल जी को बोलूँगा श्री अनिल शाह को शॉल उड़ा के उनका सम्मान करें। श्री वैभव जयंतीलाल शाह जी, एनदर शाह सर। इनकी ये भी वेस्टर्न रीजन से हैं, इनकी कंपनी है मोनार्च नेटवर्क और काफ़ी बड़ा इनका वॉल्यूम है और अच्छा सा काम है। मैं और एक लडिया ब्रदर्स को अनुरोध करूंगा कि श्री वैभव शाह जी को शॉल उड़ा के उनका सम्मान करें। बाय द वे, लडिया ब्रदर्स आर ट्विंस। श्री कोटा श्रीनिवास राव जी, मित्रों आपको पता है कि अपने एनमी में जो कि डिवीज़न है, रीजन वाइज हेडक्वार्टर है, तो जैसे कि ईस्टर्न रीजन में अपने कलकत्ता हेडक्वार्टर है, साउदर्न रीजन का अलग है, उसमें दो भाग में विभाजित है, एक आंध्र प्रदेश और जिसकी हेडक्वार्टर है हैदराबाद में, और एक है टीकेके माने तमिलनाडु, कर्नाटक और केरला, उसके अलग विभाजित है। तो आप आंध्र प्रदेश को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं? हाँ, हैदराबाद है। तो हैदराबाद तो सबको पता है, निजामों की नगरी और क्या क्या नहीं है वहाँ पर सब कुछ। तो मैं उसको आपको सम्मानित करने के लिए बुलाना चाहूँगा आशीष छोटारिया को। इनको शॉल उड़ा के सम्मानित करें। सिंघानी जी आए क्या? नहीं। अब ऐसा है कि जो अभी मैंने बोला ना कि अपना तो चेयरमैन लेवल पे भी श्री मिलन भाई पारिक जो कि चेयरमैन हैं वेस्टर्न रीजन के और जैनम शेयर कंसल्टेंट्स के एमडी हैं, आए कि नहीं मिलन भाई? नहीं। तो अब आता है नंबर हेमंत कक्कड़ जी का। हेमंत जी कहाँ है? आइए। हेमंत जी कक्कड़ को कोई नहीं जानता है, ही इज़ ए टावरिंग पर्सनालिटी। और ये जो अपना एनमी मेंबर का जो व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप शुरू हुआ उसके सृष्टिकर्ता यही हैं और एडमिन है। अच्छा, मज़े की बात यह है कि ग्रुप एडमिन का हिंदी इक्विवेलेंट खोजने के लिए शब्दकोश में गए तो किसी ने उसका हिंदी इक्विवेलेंट निकाला है झुंड नियंत्रक। तो मजाक अलग चीज़ है। श्री हेमंत कक्कड़ जी को हम लोग सम्मानित करेंगे शॉल उड़ा के। आपसे अनुरोध है कि प्लीज़। इनकी फर्म का नाम है HR फाइनेंस एंड इन्वेस्टमेंट। अच्छा, इनकी खास बात यह है कि इतने मिलनसार और इतने है कि ये छोटे छोटे शहरों में चैप्टर्स में करते रहते हैं, जयपुर में, चंडीगढ़ में और आपके कानपुर में, सब जगह ऑर्गेनाइज करते रहते हैं। हाँ, श्योर।
सॉरी, मैं एनमी में आया 2007-8 में, तो राकेश सोमानी जी प्रेसिडेंट थे। तो उस वक्त में दिल्ली के अंदर एक फंक्शन हुआ ASF हयात रीजेंसी में, और वो पहला दिन था मेरा एनमी ज्वाइन करने का। मैं पहले दिन एनमी आया और मुझे एक छोटी सी ड्यूटी दी गई कि आपको इस होटल के अंदर ये काम करना है। तो राकेश भाई जब आए तो पहला जो आदमी मुझे मिला एनमी के अंदर में वो राकेश भाई थे। तो राकेश जी ने मुझसे बोला कि शाम को 7-8 बजे हम लोग जो है लॉबी में मिलते हैं। तो वो जो जैसे गीता का ज्ञान होता है ना, वैसे एनमी में ज्ञान मुझे राकेश भाई ने दिया। तो मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा राकेश भाई से, राकेश भाई प्लीज़ कम। तो राकेश भाई की वजह से जो इतना लंबा शायद मैं चल पाया एनमी के अंदर में, और जो आपने मुझे सीख दी उस दिन से उस पर बरकरार हूँ मैं। थैंक यू।
श्री बसंत अग्रवाल जी। श्री बसंत अग्रवाल जी भी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हैं और ये भी आंध्र प्रदेश चैप्टर को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं। ये उसके चेयरमैन हैं और इनकी बासन इक्विटी जी है। और अभी मुझे चाय के दौरान पता चला कि आपका ये सॉफ्टवेयर और टेक्नोलॉजी में भी, इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी में भी काफ़ी ये कर रहे हैं। तो श्री वसंत अग्रवाल जी को हम लोग सम्मानित करेंगे। तो मैं अनुरोध करूंगा श्री दिलीप पाटनी जी को कि उनको शॉल उड़ा के सम्मानित करें। दिलीप पाटनी जी भी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हैं और ये जो अपने चेयरमैन हैं संदीप पाटनी जी, इनके परिवार से बिलोंग करते हैं। सिंघानिया जी, अच्छा, ओके, सो वी आर डेफरिंग, हाँ, ठीक है। तो मिलन भाई आए नहीं आए, ठीक है। तो हम लोग 3-4 व्यक्ति रह गए हैं, इनके लिए हम लोग फिर बाद में करेंगे सेशन। और हम लोग जो 3 हैं ईस्टर्न रीजन से, आपके और अपने और आपके ही बीच से हैं, मैं विनोद कुमार गोयल और नवीन अग्रवाल और संदीप पाटनी, तो ये हम लोग हैं ही। तो इसके साथ ही ये इस सत्र का इस सत्र का समापन करेंगे। मित्रों 2 मिनट और लूँगा। कई बार क्या होता है कि कुछ चीज़ें घटित होती हैं और अपने आप में होती रहती है, उसका हम लोग संज्ञान नहीं लेते हैं, तो वो पीछे बैक बर्नर पे रह जाती है। तो ईस्टर्न रीजन की मैं 2 खास बातें बताना चाहूँगा कि आज से 6 साल पहले उस समय जो अपने प्रेसिडेंट थे, ये भूतपूर्व प्रेसिडेंट श्री अनूप जी खंडेलवाल की प्रेरणा से हम लोगों ने शुरू किया कि हम लोग नेक्स्ट जेन शुरू करें। नेक्स्ट जेन का तात्पर्य ये था कि आने वाली जनरेशन को, जैसे कि अभी श्री राम सर ने कहा कि लोगों का इंटरेस्ट नहीं रहता है, तो हम लोगों ने उसमें एक ग्रुप बनाया कि जो पुत्रियां हैं हम लोग के जो एनमी मेंबर्स की, उनको वहाँ बुलाएंगे और उनको मेंटरिंग करेंगे। तो मुझे पहला सौभाग्य मिला था उनको मेंटर करने का, हालांकि वो ज़्यादा लंबा नहीं चला, पर यह है कि उसमें हमें 2 जेम की प्राप्ति हो गई, एक कौशिक डागा और एक मान्यवर्धन वेद। अच्छा, सारे संसार में और पूरे देश और अंतर्देशीय प्लेटफॉर्म पे नारी शक्ति की, नारी सशक्तिकरण की बातें हो रही हैं। अगर मैं गलत नहीं हूँ तो खाली एनमी ईस्टर्न रीजन ऐसा है जहाँ पर एनमी की एग्जीक्यूटिव कमेटी में 2 महिलाएं हैं, एक स्निग्धा टिब्रेवाल और एक अदिति जी डे। अदिति डे जी ट्रेवलिंग कर रही हैं, वो आज आई नहीं है, और स्निग्धा आई हुई है। तो वो यहाँ पर जब सेशन चलेगा वो मॉडरेटर का काम करेंगी। थैंक यू।
आ गया, राइट। और हमें थोड़ी हिंदी की क्लासेस आपसे भी लेनी पड़ेगी। So now for the main event that we've all been waiting for, we have a panel discussion coming up. वैसे तो प्रेसिडेंट सर ने बोला ही है, उन्होंने कोई 8 को 80 किया है, so we could probably add a chair for the panel discussion. Anyway, our panelists today are familiar faces on the popular news channels. What makes this panel interesting is they are coming from their own school of thoughts. We have their perspectives ranging from fundamentals to technicals to quants. So So before I get to come to the point to introduce them, we have a small presentation from our sponsors, Smiths Limited. Can we please put it up on screen?
We are honored to welcome you to the heart of financial innovation, where dreams converge with opportunities. Our commitment to providing a comprehensive range of financial solutions has allowed us to build a familiar presence and establish ourselves as a trusted investment partner. At Smiths, we don't just deal in stocks, we deal in aspirations. Our new avatar is promoted by Mr. Rahul Dayan, Director and CEO. The company has also been benefited greatly from Sri Ashwini Kumar Tripaঠি's vision, who is the MD. Sri Sudipto Datta, who steers operations, compliance and statutory obligations, accounts and finance, legal, HR and talent acquisition. The company has reached new heights under Sri Shivaji Roy, who is the Executive Director in the Retail Sales and Business Development.
Our journey is defined by our commitment to sales, research and advisory, catering to all sorts of institutional clients like mutual fund, insurance fund, foreign investors, as well as HNI clients.
At Smiths, we provide best-in-class service to stock market participants for both their trading and investing needs, while also providing holistic solutions to their financial queries.
Our PMS products are designed to take part in India's capabilities to service the world and become the third largest economy. We at SMFS are here to create a partnership founded on trust, knowledge, and a shared commitment towards your financial success.
We at Smiths are largely focused on giving customized advice to the customer. The focus is on protection of capital and designing the portfolio according to the need of the client. Me and my team are always ready to help you out with all your investment related needs, whether they are investments into equities, mutual funds or bonds.
Smiths is offering many modern and technologically advanced applications to its clients for different services like trading, back office operation, account opening, etc. etc. Smiths is determined to offer more user-friendly and easy to use, and at the same time technologically advanced applications, full features and functionalities to its clients for more and more client satisfaction.
We have 30 branches spread across all the major cities, with our head office being located at 4 Road, Kolkata, and an even larger network of authorized persons who are present in all the corners of this country. We offer equity broking, ETF, derivatives, currency, commodity, mutual fund, fixed income, portfolio management service, advisory and research services. From dreams to reality, Smiths Limited is your partner in financial growth. As we step into the future, let's continue this journey of prosperity hand in hand.
We thank Smiths for their contribution and support today. One of our panelists, Mr. Sarath Avasti, VP of Vice President of PCG Smiths Limited, is with us. May I request, now that we have spoken of next gen, I see some next gen faces. May I request Arushi Matran to please come forward and felicitate Mr. Avasti. Arushi, wait, we have a bouquet to present as well. Thank you, Arushi. Please have a seat. To tell you a little about Mr. Sarath Avasthi, he's the Vice President of PCG Smiths Limited. He's an equity research expert with over 2 decades of experience. His background spans capital market advisory, equity research, and mutual fund investments. He joined Smiths in July 2021, offering an unbiased and holistic perspective to financial markets and different asset classes. Previously, he led institutional equity research at SPS Securities for 10 years, covering multiple sectors. He's a familiar face on business channels like CNBC Awaz, Zee Business, CNBC TV 18 and NDTV Profit. He's also served as a visiting faculty at NISM Patal Ganga. So a round of applause please for Mr. Avasthi. I now invite next panelist for the evening, Mr. Vikas Sethi, to join us on the stage. To felicitate Mr. Sethi, may I request Laksh Agarwal to come forward, please. A bouquet to go with the memento. Mr. Vikas Sethi is a renowned figure in capital markets and finance. As MD of Sethi Finmart Private Limited, he is highly experienced, educated at prestigious London Business School, featured on major business news channels such as G Business, CNBC Awaz, ET Now and Bloomberg Quint. He is known for his accurate stock market insights. His Zee Business show, Sadabahar Sethi Saab ke short-term picks, is popular for consistently hitting targets. He is respected for unbiased equity advice, spotting undervalued stocks, and mentoring young investors. Besides finance, he's involved in impactful philanthropy. A round of applause for him, please. Time for our next panelist. May I request Mr. Vishwesh Chauhan to join us, please. May I request Mr. Shrikant Fumra to come forward to felicitate Mr. Chauhan. Mr. Fumra. May I request Mr. Hemant Kakkar to come forward and felicitate the guest, please. Thank you, Hemanji. Mr. Vishwesh Chauhan, CEO of Chase Alpha Technologies, is a notable figure in quantitative and derivatives trading. He is recognized for sharing innovative insights on platforms like Zee Business, CNBC Awaz, Bloomberg Quint, and CNBC TV 18. With a software engineering background, a MBA in finance, and a certification in applied mathematics from Indian Institute of Quantitative Finance, he brings a diverse skill set. His decade-long career spans prestigious institutions like BNP Paribas, Standard Chartered, and Reuters. Apart from technical expertise, he excels in guiding individuals through stock market trading programs. So a round of applause for Mr. Chauhan, please. To get this thrilling panel discussion started, I now invite our chairman, Mr. Sandeep Jain, as the lead moderator, and I invite Snigdha as the co-pilot, co-moderator for the session. I now leave the session to you guys.
So guys, after long session of felicitation and all, now we are heading towards the panel discussion session, to which most of us are looking forward to. And rest assured, I am quite confident that all of you sitting here, after this session is over, they will be definitely enriched and enlightened by the deliberations and the views that our esteemed panelists share. The panelists who are sitting in front of us, they are not short of celebrities now. And I have personally seen Sethi Saab on airports and all, Vishweshji, Sharadji. They are recognized by common man now. They are famous across India, and they are doing phenomenal job of creating awareness about equity culture in India. So, round of applause for our panelists. So let's kick start with the panel discussion session. So I would like to first ask my first question to Mr. Vikas Sethi ji. You are famous across the country as Sadabahar Sethi Saab, and you have recommended a lot of multi-baggers. The list is endless. RVNL, Zentech, Poonawalla. The list is endless. It can go on and on and on. Sir, how do you identify such multi-baggers?
Thank you, Sandeep ji, for the kind words and the appreciation which you have done. As far as my stock picking, what goes behind picking up stocks is concerned, let me first, when you began, you said today's crowd would be enriched by what we say, but I feel it's a crowd which does not need our discussion. It's a privilege for us to be addressing such an august gathering. I'm really thankful to you for having invited me for this gathering. As far as stock picking is concerned, normally it's something on which I can go on, and normally I take 2 to 3 hours session discussing how do I identify stocks. But since we are short of time, I would just try to sum it up in a very short span of time. The first and the most important thing while identifying stocks is make a list of stocks which you want to avoid, which would make your task much, much easier. So normally I've been to lots of forum, I've said this on air also. Always remember PDC. I always tell this, P would stand for companies which have a very high promoters pledge. So just avoid those companies where promoters have placed a substantial quantity of their holding. So that makes your task easier. The second thing is D, which would stand for debt. So just avoid highly leveraged companies. And the third would be C, which would mean companies having corporate governance issues. So please avoid companies where there are corporate governance issues. So that would make your task much simpler. And then you need to look at companies, and I'm sure most of you would be able to analyze balance sheet and financials much better than we could do. But still, I would just tell you something. we normally look for, first we look at a sector which we like. Like it's a top-down approach always. Try to identify a sector which you like and which would do well. So India is at a stage, okay, I would like to bring some energy to this gathering today by giving a very bold statement. Hear me properly. No power on earth can stop an idea whose time has come. I repeat this. Mr. Victor Hugo, who was a French novelist and poet, he gave this idea. No power on earth can stop an idea whose time has come. And trust me, our time has come. India's time has come. And that was adequately reflected day before yesterday when we became the first country in the world to have landed on the south pole of the moon. So have faith in India. It's our time. The next decade, or for that matter, the next 25 years belong to us. So what happened with China, what happened with Japan, what happened with the US is going to happen to us. There is no doubt about it. So stay invested would be the first thing. And stay invested in good quality companies. When you look at financials, we normally look at companies which have some moat, some competitive advantage. Always try to identify those companies where they have some competitive advantage. Run-of-the-mill companies may not create wealth for you. Secondly, one should always look at the quality of the promoters, the fire in them, the confidence in them, where they are going in the right direction, or they have some ambition and some planning for their company for the future. So that is another thing which one should look at. So always look at promoters, because when we buy shares of a company, we are giving our money to a person to run their business. So promoters would form a very integral part, and as I told you earlier also, there should not be any corporate governance issues. Promoters' pledge should be as minimum as possible. It should have competitive advantage. And then we look at financials, like a company which is growing at a good CAGR over the last few years. It's generating cash flows. It's always easy to identify companies which publish something better than what they actually are. But when you look at their cash flows, you will be able to identify whether whatever they are saying is correct or not. So always look at the cash flows. Companies which have positive cash flows are the ones which you would need to look at. So these are the few things which one should look at. Valuations certainly are important, but normally what happens is when you are investing in a company for a long term, like today, there's one sector which I'm very bullish on, or which I have been bullish on since last 3 to 6 months. And that is the sector of electronics manufacturing. But most of the stocks in that sector have really gone up. I had recommended so many stocks from these sectors over the last 3 to 4 months, like Sirma, like an Avalon, like Keynes. And they've all gone up, and if you look at them today, they would look very expensive. But quality comes expensive, it does not come cheap. You might wait for some correction to happen, but it's very difficult really to time the markets. So try to identify some good sector and be with a company which is well run, and stay the whole course. Patience would ultimately pay. So one needs to have patience. That is the quality of an investor to create wealth. Patience and conviction in your ideas would be two most important traits which a successful investor should have. I think that should be it, and I'll...
Thank you, Vikashi, for enlightening us.
It's an absolute privilege to be able to get perspective from such esteemed market experts today. My question to Vivesh sir is, so in the post-COVID era, the Gen Z is especially interested in making quick money, and they're probably watching shows like Quarter Se Quarter Tak. But like sir said, it's important to have patience, and long-term investing should be the foundation and the core. So what would you say one needs to do to be successful in the long-term investing game?
Okay. So that's a very nice question. And the answer requires, I think, at least 15 minutes. And I prepared a very long answer for that, to be very honest, if such kind of question comes. But how many of you have heard the name of Magnus Carlsen? Everybody? Yeah? 5-time champion. Yesterday again won. So what makes Magnus Carlsen so special? Do you think all the chess players are blessed? What is your opinion? They are more superior in terms of knowledge, in terms of the memory which they have it? Okay, so I'll just tell you some study, and probably the question is around how to become a good investor long term. I would try to tell you a thesis which in my opinion can make you expert at anything. Okay, so first of all you should understand that in 1973 there was a study which carried out by William Chase and Herbert Simon, and they wanted to understand that does this chess player have something special? Do they have a more short memory, or their IQ level is higher? So what they did, they in fact this is something very interesting even when I was reading. So I generally make this kind of content for my YouTube videos to enlighten Gen Z for that matter. So I realized that the study was, they gathered 3 people. One was a grandmaster, second was a amateur advanced player, and the third was a beginner. And they presented a chessboard with 25 pieces on that. Normally chessboard has about 16 this side, 16 that side, correct? About 32 pieces. They presented it with 25 pieces. And they gave them a 5-second, all 3 players, 5 seconds to replicate the same on the empty chessboard. Now, what would have been the case? Can anybody guess? One is master, one is the amateur, and one is the beginner total. What would have been the outcome? So the outcome is obviously what you might have guessed, that the master replicated in a first 5 seconds itself 16 pieces out of 25. Means there were 25 pieces, he was managed to put the 16 pieces at the right places. So in a first glance itself, he identified. Whereas advanced player who is not a master, he was able to put only 8 pieces, and somebody who is a beginner put about 3 pieces only. Then they changed the experiment, and what they did, they randomized the chessboard position. So now they kept the 25 pieces only, but not like the same way chess is played, right? Here and there, which normally a chess game does not. And now, what has happened interesting, and this is a beautiful part, now all of a sudden, the grandmaster was same as the beginner and same as the amateur. All were able to put only 3 pieces. So conclusion is what? Conclusion was, from that 1973 research of William Chase and Herbert Simon, was the conclusion that chess is not a game of a short-term memory, but chess player who plays thousands of the times, they memorize the sequence, that this is exactly how normally game carried out. So recently there was an interview of Magnus Carlsen, and he was presented with a certain chessboard position, and he immediately identified this is 1987 game of World Cup Championship, and everybody was shocked. Why? So was he special? No. The special thing is that he has played thousands of the time that chess, thousands hours, to understand the positions of the pieces are happening in a certain way only. Now, in a very natural sense, you can understand that when a random position is kept, they were not able to predict it. Grandmaster was equivalent to a normal guy. So, remembering the position as it is the normal chess, so he has something called as a visual memory, and everyone develops a visual memory which is called a chunking. Now you must be wondering what chunking is. It's basically our brain's long-term memory, and brain can remember a position in a very different way which we may be aware. So Magnus Carlsen can remember 1987 game just by looking at the arrangement of the board is because he can see the chessboard the way we can see the faces and the pictures. We are able to relate it. So our experience of seeing the picture that this is the apple or this is the probably light is because we have seen it in the past. And if we shown a random position, we cannot do that. Now, this long-term memory can be built. And you might be thinking that I'm randomly talking something. I'm coming to point, and that is where I said I'll take some time. So long-term memory can be created. How many of you have heard a law of, or a rule of 10,000 hours? Anybody? Malcolm Gladwell, everybody? Yeah, 10,000 hours. So they say that in order to become a master at anything, you require about 10,000 hours, right? So now, if you start studying 10,000 hours anything, you should become an expert, correct? Right? But that is not the case. 10,000 hours does not make you an expert. And our question is related to markets. So I'll try to go a little deeper and understand that the reason tennis player, or the reason chess player, or for that matter, the reason physicists are so smart and so able to solve a problem, because they have not done it once, they have done it thousands of the time. So definitely you require a 10,000 hours to solve that. But in a long term, if you think, along with that, you require a timely feedback. What is a timely feedback? If you're playing a chess and if you win or lose, that is a timely feedback. If you're playing a tennis and if you are making a right shot, that is a timely feedback. Now, when it comes to market, and if you are not spending enough time in studying what is required to be a winning thing, that is not the thing, or probably you are putting a time in order to understand. You require a timely feedback. And what is a timely feedback in this case? The timely feedback is the money you are making. So along with 10,000 hours, which is called a very repudiate experience, you require a timely feedback. And on top of that, you require something called as a valid environment. Now, this is a very promising structure. We are in a stock market where whatever we do is regulated by a SEBI. So for an example, you go and study all the letters from Warren Buffett in order to arrive at what things you should see in a balance sheet. You should be good to go. You should become a long-term investor. But that is not all about it. Along with the long-term investing, you require a actual implementation in order to understand that how this works. So 10,000 hour, valid environment, feedback, these three along with that should be the one thing. Now that is also not. You require a fourth element also, and that the fourth element is putting in a very rigorous situation. What does that mean? So for an example, you have studied that every time a certain stock has a price band or a PE band, it reaches to a lower band and it moves for them. So let's say HDFC Bank, when it comes to 15 times, you should probably buy it. But unless you see a 2 cycle, you will not be able to understand. So what I have understood, the people, all the people who are successful in the stock market and become a very good long-term investor, they have given a lot of time. They have given a lot of time in order to understand that every time market cap to sales is 0.5, and if industry is in a buzz, all the stocks which has not done well tend to perform in the next 3 months, where you find it very, very difficult. At least you have to see a 2 bull market. Then you can call yourself a probably investor.
Wow, Vishesh bhai, that was a 360-degree different perspective answer to this.
So I may have not been able to comprehend very nicely because, to be very honest, this requires a presentation. I could show you exactly that why such thing work. If you read a Daniel Kahneman or if you read a Malcolm Gladwell, you would understand that expert is not about subject. It's about repeatedly doing the same thing. I'll tell you, since my start of a career, I see 200 or 300 charts every day. I spend 10 hours every day in market. Now, when I see the chart, it takes me about a 1 to 2 seconds to understand that what is the technical structure of that. Now, I have not given the same amount of time to fundamental, and that is the reason I don't call myself a long-term investor. But last few years, the kind of investment pick that I have made it based on the quantamental model. So I can tell you, every time a stock which is given a 30-40% in a very shorter term had the similar structure what it had it, and it can be predicted with the accuracy of almost 70 to 80%. All you have to do is manage your risk, I think.
We still remember your recommendation on KEI. It was around 230 or 300 levels. Now it's around 2,400 levels in just a span of what, 2 years, 1.5 years.
Yes.
So that's a phenomenal
In
perspective.
fact, I'll tell you, all my life saving, last year I invested in one stock. It's a 10 time right now. And I'm expecting it to become a double from here. And I think it will give me a kind of financial freedom that I'm looking for.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah, so I think, in a nutshell, I'll tell you, you may find it a little difficult. And probably you guys are best when it comes to, let's say, every broker, every NSC member in itself is a chartered accountant or a brilliant. I have nothing to say when it comes to knowledge. I think you guys have it. All I could tell you is that it's not just a knowledge, but probably something else also. And that something else, applying that knowledge in all the market condition gives you those winning. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for answering that, sir, beautifully. And we loved the chess analogy that you drew. But, sir, as brokers, we understand haircuts. 10,000 hours में कुछ haircut तो करिए.
So 10,000 hours में कितने year होते हैं? How many years is 10,000 hours according to you? Can a quick math? You give 5 hours a day, right? 4 years you require. Now ask anyone, क्या 4 साल में कोई fundamental investor बन जाता है long term? नहीं ना. So 10,000 hours is not enough. So when I read a first time Malcolm Gladwell, I was in my MBA, and I said, "Wow, this is a superb shortcut." But after that, I lost money every time. I thought I knew technicals. No, it is not enough. I have lost a lot of money for Mumbai. So I'll tell you, knowledge is just a way to start. The key to success is to win the game, you have to be in the game. अगर आपके चिप खत्म हो गए तो आप पैसा नहीं बना पाओगे मार्केट में. And I was listening to Dr. Mehta, and he had a 10-bagger dollar. So I'll tell you, sir, in 2009 when I was working for BNP Paribas, now which earlier was Sher Khan, I predicted dollar which was at 39 कि ये 65 हो जाएगा, and nobody believed it. And right now, I think the dollar is right now 83, contrary to your opinion. I think वो 90 हो जाएगा. And 20-year breakout is happening in 10-year US yield. So now, what I would like to do, so now I'm not giving you any gyan, I'm just giving you my observation. What has happened in the past when such thing happened? That is quantamental, in my opinion. So at least next 2 years, market did not perform. I'm not scaring you, but this is my expectation.
Now coming to Sharad ji. Sharad ji, we regularly hear you on business channels. You have been quite sober, quite shy, and quite focused, and very straight to the point, whatever you say. And really appreciate that. And I quite follow a lot of your recommendations, like data patterns, data metrics, and one Exide. You have been very, very confident about those stocks, and they have made good money for the investors also. So how do you prepare your investment thesis?
See, I don't have some long list of things that I do. I keep it very simple. So I usually keep it very simple. Vishwesh spoke about valuation bands. That is something I also look at. The most important thing that I look at is the broader industrial cycle, that where the industrial cycle is. It is usually a 7 to 8 year cycle. If you are broadly in the right space, you avoid the 50% downtake that may happen at some point in time and will happen at some point in time. Yeah, now you can hear it? Yeah, it's better now. Okay. So basically what I try to do is I just look at the broader valuation multiples and the industrial cycle where we are placed, and how the industrial cycle is placed is very important, because if you are more or less right on the industrial cycle, you avoid the 50-60% drawdown that once in 8-10 years will happen across markets, across commodities, across anything. So that gives me a bit of comfort there. And the other thing is basically the valuation, particularly on a stock. I'm not comfortable buying stories that will turn profitable 5-7 years after my initial date. I want something where I get a margin of safety. And I think a large part of the game is in your head, actually. Because if you are going to do a contrarian bet, sometime back I was recommending PVR at 1350. So even the anchors were not confident that it is going to go up. So they were asking me, "Aisa kya hoga?" So you have to understand why a stock has gone down. Around 5-7 years back, or even before that, most probably, when Motherson acquired Peguform, there was a lot of negativity. People were not willing to buy Motherson. But then if you had understood the whole theory how they were operating, and that Pegoform had a major part of its business from where, and the valuation comfort was there. So we, in my earlier company, were the only ones who had a buy report on Motherson then. So basically, there are 2-3 ways. If you want margin of safety, you have to be picking up contrarian bets where the market does not fancy. Cement is one such sector right now. No one wants to look at it. Shri has its own problems. Other companies have their own issues. But if you look at the problems they have, logistics, some raw material issues, demand issues, but most of that is behind us. Most of that will improve from now on. So gradually favor could come back. In the past, there have been many such cases. So largely keep it simple. Look at the industrial cycle. Look at the valuations that the company is trading. Margin of safety is very important. And one very important thing is that do your research properly so that you can have that perseverance and conviction to hold on through the downs. So there were some pharma stocks I bought over the last 1.5, 2 years. They did not perform. They were down 30-40%. But now once China opens up and the API things comes back into place, most of them have come back or even trading higher. So that will happen. Occasionally you will go wrong, but it is largely a game that is to be played in the mind.
Thank you for answering that. My question is to Mr. Sethi. So India being the oasis in the world today, we have the problem of plenty of opportunities. And some experts end up simply saying buy India. But according to you, what other sectors going forward are attractive, and why should we be buying them?
Yeah, first of all, I'm very bullish on India. So again, I would like to give a bold statement. India is a mid-cap which is going to turn into a large cap very soon. So do not miss this opportunity. Invest in India. As Vishwesh is not very bullish on India for the next, say, 1 or 2 years, he is talking about general markets. He may have his own views, but I feel if you are a long-term investor and willing to bet on stock markets for the next 5-10 years, India is the place to be in. And with the kind of things which the current government has done over the past, say, 10 years, like the implementation of GST, the implementation of RERA, then the banking, IBC. So they're all, we've plugged the low-hanging fruits over the last few years. Now is the time when we are going to move faster. And there's no doubt about it that India would become a $5 trillion economy very soon from where we are. We are close right now at close to $3.2, $3.3 trillion. And we would soon be a $5 trillion economy. Today we are the fastest growing major economy in the world. And if you look at history, maximum wealth has been created when a country transitions from a $3 trillion economy to, say, a $5-6 trillion economy. This has happened with Japan, this has happened with China, this has happened with the US. So there is no doubt it would not happen with India. And the kind of sectors which I like at the moment, where I think one should go all out and invest, is the most preferred sector today would be banks and financials, in my opinion. When India grows from a $3 trillion to a $5 to $6 trillion economy, there is no way our banks and our financials will not do well. Our per capita GDP is also growing, which would lead to discretionary spend in, say, automobiles, in, say, consumer durables, in housing, and this cannot happen without credit growth as far as our retail is concerned. Plus, the government has done a lot to encourage capex, both from the public sector as well as the private sector. So that would also give a boost to corporate credit. So banks would do well. And every time we have seen, whenever the interest rate cycle peaks out, which everybody here must be with me in this, in believing that Fed might hike interest rate by another 25 basis points or 50 basis points. There could be one or at the most two rate hikes. and then the interest rate cycle would reverse. And in a scenario when interest rate cycle peaks, the best performing sector would be banks and financials. So that is one sector which one needs to look at. And as I've given you the reasoning, I think 2-3 other sectors which are dependent on lower interest rates are reducing interest rates are auto component, real estate, so they could do well. Railways and defense were favorite sectors, but currently I think valuations have become a bit expensive. So one needs to have a look at them. One needs to keep them on radar. I had identified them about, say, a year back, and most of these stocks have become 4 to 5 baggers over the last 1 year. I'm not talking about the Mazgaon docks of the world where they've gone up 10 times. But say even a BDL or an HAL, they've all doubled or tripled. Railway stocks have done. I was bullish on Jupiter Wagon when it was quoting at 70-80 rupees. When I first spoke about it on air, Anilji asked me, what is this stock about? I said it is the earlier Sebco. It used to be known as Sebco earlier. And it was renamed as Jupiter Wagon, and that was when it was trading at around 70-80 rupees. And today, I think it is quoting at 330 odd levels in a span of just last 6 months. So railways and defense, they look good, but valuations are expensive. They need to correct. But long term looks very good. Then, as I was telling you, electronics manufacturing is one sector where I'm bullish on. And I think Apple, having started manufacturing and exporting from India, is the GE moment. When GE started software services, IT services in India, look at what we have created. We have become the back office of the world. We've got world-class IT companies. And this all happened after GE started IT services in India. I think the same is going to happen with manufacturing, and particularly electronics manufacturing. Apple having come to India, and with the kind of incentives, and even China Plus One will give us a boost, or will encourage manufacturing in India. So I think electronics manufacturing is again a good sector which one can look at, but again, valuations have become expensive. I just talked about Sirmas of the world, and Avalon, and Keynes, and Dixon, and Umber. They are already there. So when you look at their current valuations, they are already discounting their FY26 earnings. So wait for the markets to correct if you want to. But if you are willing to bet on these sectors for the next, say, 5 to 10 years, I think it's really difficult to time the markets, and one could go out and use a staggered approach to be buying into them. Markets certainly gives opportunities. For some reason today, we don't know when we are talking here, what is Jerome Powell talking about in Jackson Hole. So you never know what is going to come tomorrow, Monday morning, and either we open up 100 points on the Nifty or down 100 points on the Nifty. So when markets correct because of these kind of things, that is the time when you could look at these a bit expensive sectors to invest. But these are the kind of sectors which one should bet on. But bet on India. Stay invested, invest in India. That's my mantra to create wealth.
Absolutely, sir. सारे जहाँ से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा.
Absolutely.
So, building on that, I would like to ask Mr. Awasthi, are there any thumb rules that we must allocate to our portfolio on the ideal sector weights, and whether we should be doing that before picking a stock or after picking stocks?
I think sector allocation is something it is best left to expertise. So if you have the expertise and you understand the sector in depth, you have someone working in the sector who can delve knowledge about the sector, and you are very confident about it, you can go overboard on a particular sector. As Warren Buffett has often said, that if you have a very good understanding of a particular sector, you can certainly go overweight on that. You don't need diversification. Diversification is only needed when you do not understand what you are doing. Now, subject to you don't have that kind of understanding, then obviously you need to diversify. So as a thumb rule, I think anything more than 20% in a particular sector should not be held on to. 20-25% is the max that you can have. But it again depends on your ability and understanding of that particular sector.
Point well taken, sir. My question to Vishwesh bhai. You have been famous for being an advanced options trader, and you also coined a new term, quantamental. We are now talking about wealth creation journey, and the notion about wealth creation is through investing or in a long-term basis. So, what do you feel? Can options trading create long-term wealth?
So that's a good question, and probably I'll try my best to answer it. I read a quote somewhere: trading generates income, and if you invest, it can create a wealth. Right? I started my career very early age, right, after my engineering and MBA, and I could see that some of the stocks are looking good. I had a couple of choices, right? I was working in Stanchart, and after 2008 fall, I was able to see that bottom ho gaya hai, right? And I wanted to buy. What I could buy with my little salary and what I had was very less. So I choose to do some SIP, obviously. So investing is a very long-term process. Warren Buffett had made a 19.65% CAGR for 65 years, right? So investing is a long-term, and even if you start a small, probably it can give you. But if you want to really do well and probably short, you need to have a somewhere where you can generate that investable corpus. So what I do is, to be very honest, right now, Sriram sir is not there, but India option space is just buzzing, and it is only going to buzz. And if you don't, I mean, all the members are there, more or less you may have a prop desk. So somewhere you have to start employing market neutral option strategies. Now that is my forte, right? Being a quantitative background, I design systems. Now, when you design a quantitative strategies, such as market neutral, you don't have a delta exposure, which is called a directional exposure. What you're trying to do is, essentially you're trying to make money from the V, which is Vega, means volatility, and T, which is time, means theta. What it does is, here you can afford to take a certain leverage, or you can start having a stance where you can invest a larger corpus. In my opinion, month on month, 3 to 4% can be easily, even we have a Kamlesh bhai, I think they have a very good prop desk in Mumbai, right? Total Security was earlier. Now, if you are employing a strategies which is giving you a consistent return, that probably you have to invest. And in my opinion, right now in the Indian market, and contrary to a larger opinion, I do believe that for the next 6 to 8 months, or maybe 1 year or so, until 2024 election, market won't go anywhere. And you see the market trend has almost died. So unless you are employing a strategies, ratio spreads, iron condor, butterfly, I can go in very technicalities, you won't be able to generate that alpha on your already existing capital. And at some point of time, probably an opportunity arise. And if you're not investing that larger stake, probably you won't make. And I was listening to Sharad bhai, and Sharad said a very nice thing, that only exposure who devise a diversification is somebody who is not confident. Yeah, I mean, obviously you want to bet something where you are expecting to become something. Now, in order to arrive at that particular stock, you do everything what it requires, but bet enough to make plenty. That is what the saying is there. But when you bet enough, you should be obviously taking a risk also. So what I do is, I largely invest money which I make from my trading, and probably that creates a wealth. So money, how can you make? Now, don't do satta. Okay, satta is like speculation, intraday. Do a systematic trading in a way where you can do a market neutral strategies like a iron condor and butterfly. You're going to have a 5 weekly expiries, guys. And if you're not doing option strategy, and that too also market neutral, and the big boss is here, Bilan bhai, prop desk, the way he does, nobody else does. And he'll tell you the kind of amount from my hometown, Surat, right? The amount of money that is generated in option trading. So option trading can generate that income. And if you invest, then it can create a wealth. So in my opinion, simple option strategy, iron condor, sell a strangle, buy a strangle, do a 1 standard deviation, can easily fetch to 2.5%, provided you keep your delta neutral. Slightly technical, I believe. Yeah.
No, so I understand options. And we, in fact, have a options trading desk. So this was actually very insightful. What I feel is very noteworthy is that you need to have skin in the game. And that's when it really matters. So that's a good takeaway that we get. My question to Mr. Sethi is, given that we are buying India, because everyone's bullish mostly, and we are already witnessing a rally. Now, what are the red flags? What are the risks associated that you would want us to watch out?
Yeah, at this point in time, I think that is the most apt question, because we've corrected already by around 700 to 800 points on the Nifty over the last month or so. And today when we are talking, as I told you, we have an eye on Jackson Hole, what Jerome Powell is going to talk about. So the biggest risk to our rally could come from global markets, how US does. But let me tell you one thing. US has also seen a great rally over the last 1 year, but then their rally is mainly concentrated in some 7 or 8 stocks, the FANG stocks which we call, the likes of Apple and Microsoft and Tesla and Google and all. Whereas in India we have seen a broad-based rally, so our rally is different. But when US continues to hike its interest rates, they're not able to contain inflation, and they're printing dollars as they've been doing over the last, say, ever since I think 2008 crisis, they've been printing money, so they're under huge debt. So I see a problem coming from there, if at all it has to. Then China again is going through a lot of problems, in the sense their shadow banking is in a terrible shape. Their real estate sector is doing very badly. We've seen some 2-3 big companies defaulting on their interest payments recently. And the biggest problem to the developed world would be the aging population, the demography which they have. And just contrary to that, India is in a sweet spot. So these are the global issues which could derail the world markets. Russia, Ukraine is all known, but if China and Taiwan had to happen, then that is certainly going to create a problem for the entire world. So one would need to look at them. And as far as our markets are concerned, I think the biggest risk to our markets would be the forthcoming general elections. If we have a coalition government coming to power, which nobody would want to happen, but you never know when 70 crore people are going to exercise their mandate, what would come out. But I firmly and truly believe that we should not have any problem on that front. But God forbid if that happens, then there could be a problem for our markets. But again, I would use that fall, whichever comes, when in such a scenario, to be buying stocks for long term. Because India cannot be stopped. And I started with this, no power on earth can stop an idea whose time has come. It's our time. That's it.
Very well said, sir.
Sharadji, stock investing seems to be taking a full-time effort. So what can people with other jobs do to learn it and build a portfolio?
Well, again, keep it very simple. As Sethi Saab has been also advocating that the time for India has come, Mr. Mehta was also elucidating on that fact. So to consider that why India's time has come, you have to understand one simple thing. We all talk about demographics. I have been hearing about demographic dividend for the last 20 years. But that demographic dividend needs to be channelized into something so that we get the absolute amount of money, bang for the buck basically out of that. So now what has happened is that globally China has a falling percentage of population which is productive. That is the 40 to 60 band. And India will have this band going up for the next 30 years at least, till 2060. So till that time, India will be in a sweet spot like US has been over the last, say, 30, 40 years. So the earlier demographic dividend, the current dividend is very different because there is no other country that has this kind of demographic advantage in place. So India will continue to be a shining spot. That's a broader story. That's a 30-year, 40-year story. But within that, there will be many hiccups, many ups and downs. So to keep it simple, what you do is, in terms of managing a portfolio, is either you have that ability to do top-down analysis. So suppose you look at renewable power today, railway stocks, defense stocks. These are opportunities that could go into a very different orbit over the next 5 to 10 years. Then I think what you need to broadly first decide is that what time frame you are going to get into the market for. So there are people who come into the market, they make money, they are fast exiters. And then there are people who would stay put for a certain time if they make losses. So be very clear what you are doing. I think there is a lot of confusion between who's a trader, who's an investor as well amongst the investment community. That's a problem. So make it clear that what time frame you are entering the market for. Long term, it's very bullish, we all know. From here, I think your ideal strategy should be to largely stick to 70-75% large caps. But normally, if you want to just study how you want to do, how you want to invest in the markets, I think you should ideally allocate it across 10-15 stocks and identify stories according to your risk appetite. If you have a risk appetite where you can go for small caps, mid caps, and you are comfortable with a 30-35% kind of drawdown, that's okay. But if you are someone who gets nervous, then obviously it's better to stick to your large cap bets, because the probability of a Yes Bank happening out of a large cap is preferably low. So depends on your appetite. If you have a long-term appetite, if you are a nervous investor, go for large cap stories. If you have an appetite for risk, I think go in for mid caps and small caps.
Just Sandeep, one thing which I would like to add, when you asked me which sectors would you look for, one important sector which I'm bullish on and which I would like you to look into would be renewables or green energy. And I think even in the short term, when we are expecting US President Joe Biden to visit India in the first week of September, he's coming on 7th of September and he will be here until 10th to attend the G20 summit. I'm expecting a lot of agreements or contracts in sectors, particularly green energy, hydrogen, renewables. So that is one sector which one needs to look at. Although we have very few companies right now from those sectors, but then that's one sector. And secondly, why I am so bullish on India, the one more reason why I'm bullish on India is just note this figure. Our economy today is around $3.2, $3.3 trillion. And we have a 20% savings rate. 20% savings rate, which would make it that we are saving around $700 billion every year. And out of that, the current SIP which comes into our mutual fund industry is only $2 billion a month, which makes it only $24 billion a year. So when you look at it from that angle, out of a savings of $700 billion, it's only $24 billion which gets channelized into our equity markets. So there is a huge, huge opportunity. If you look at the developed countries, this percentage, which is currently 3 to 4% in India, 3 to 4% of your incremental savings come into equity markets. Even if it goes up by, even if it doubles from here, actually a figure which one should stop at. Our markets would go from these levels to substantially higher levels. And we do not need FII money to drive our markets up. So this is the kind of opportunity which we see in our markets. So that was what I wanted to highlight. Yeah.
That's a very nice take that you have given to us. One last question with Vishwesh Bhai before we open the floor for public questions. See, trading comes with risk. So if we trade, we carry risk also. How to manage risk in investing vis-a-vis in options trading, and any analytical tool that you advise to study that is freely available?
So that's a nice question, Sandeep bhai. A lot of people come to me and tell me कि मेरा पैसा manage करो. And our first question I ask them, कितना तोड़ने के लिए ready हो? You may be thinking, यार, I'm coming to you for making money. Why is he asking about? So how much downside are you ready to see? And to be very honest, I'm extremely bullish on India to an extent that I have 3 companies, 3 startup. I'm a fintech startup. I stay out of 1 month. I stay 2 weeks in Bangalore and 2 weeks in Mumbai. And what is happening with India is immense. My 2 sons will go to MIT and probably they'll build a exuberant, AI we are talking about. But over a period of last, 15, 16 years I have been in market, what I have realized that when that movement is against me, for let's say 10, 15%, also 20%, I start putting question to myself that what am I going to do if it goes further? So what I have realized, अच्छा stock भी गलत भाव से खराब होता है और बुरा stock भी अच्छे भाव से अच्छा होता है. While optimism is superb, I truly believe that investing is a long term, and if you are thinking about long term, it's only 4 letters, CAGR, right? You just want to make a 15 to 18% CAGR. If you are very good, then you are in a category of Warren Buffett. 18% कैसे बनाओगे आप ऑप्शन बेचो, आप स्टॉक खरीदो, आप 18% बता रहे. अब when you are doing that, how much are you willing to see negative? That is called a drawdown. So in my experience, I have not seen a client who is ready more than 20% drawdown on a, let's say 1 crore capital also we are talking about. So what happens is, in investing, people don't have this answer only. We are SEBI registered investment advisor, and I meet a lot of people and I tell them that we will build a portfolio. How much drawdown can you see? That is not a loss. But say कि long term के लिए है ना, मैं बोला अगर 40% गिरा, what will you do? इतना थोड़ी गिरना चाहिए. So what happened? Investors are not ready, and all they want to do is they want to talk about a long term. कितने लोग 50% नीचे स्टॉक देख पाते हैं? I have not come across. I have been in a market for so long. To be very honest, I'm young enough, but I have worked with people who have done a blunders by doing, investing at a wrong point of time. So I truly believe in one thing: there should be diversification. First, investing ka, when you're talking about options trading, all you have to manage is something called as VAR, value at risk. How much you are at a 99% confidence level. If tomorrow 20% goes down, I will not lose more than this money. Full stop. That is ironclad rule. That out of my 1 crore, even if the worst, what is the worst black swan India can happen? Something happens to Modi ji. 20% niche, how much you are willing to lose? That is your VAR, which is value at risk. So in trading, if you manage your VAR, you are happy. But in investing, how you are managing? So in investing, stop loss to hota nahi hai, because you are holding it, right? So diversification. Don't have a high beta sector. So I give like I can talk a full day on a quantamental thing. But what I can tell you is that a single sector, which is a beta over 1, should not have an exposure of more than 15 to 20% of your portfolio. That is the first thing. Beta over 1. So that means what happens, that index fall by 1%, you will fall more by 1, and on a portfolio level, it will have an impact of about 0.2. Right? That is the first thing. Second, I would see that concentrated risk should be avoided. Concentrated risk among the sector, among the stocks also. So I would never ever have let's say a stock from a financial and at the same time banking. Now overall financial exposure has increased. So it is called a concentrated sector, which I would like to keep down. And the third, at any given point of time, I want to have a certain amount of cash plan, right? That certain level below, I am going to come on this. I have in 2008, when I started my career at about 2006, and in 2008 I was working in Sher Khan, and I predicted that gaya hai bazaar. I don't know for what reason those people were saying hum to Hong Kong hai, ye ho jayega, and everybody saw what happened. Now I could not understand that why people were not exiting. So there was one guy who was a Gujarati Shah, and वो चुपचाप अपना माल बेच रहा था टर्मिनल पे. मैंने बोलता है भाव नहीं देखने का, बेच देने का. You should know how to exit. एंट्री सबको आता है, सब अभिमन्यु है. एग्जिट आना चाहिए बॉस. यू शुड नो हाउ टू एग्जिट. इन्वेस्टर को एग्जिट पता ही नहीं होता है. आई रिकमेंडेड अ पॉलीप्लेक्स लास्ट ईयर एट अबाउट 650 रुपीज़. वो 2800 रुपये जाके आया और अभी 1100 रुपये हो गया है. राइट? अभी वो 1100 वाला सपोज 5000 भी हो सकता है. आर यू रेडी फॉर दैट स्विंग? Are you calling yourself a real investor? Warren Buffett क्या बोलते हैं? If tomorrow company shut down, you should be ready to hold it for 10 years. Are you that person? So there is a very fantastic book by Martin Pring, says investment psychology, and the very first chapter among that is know yourself. know that what you do. So one is diversification. Single sector should not have, high beta sector should not have a weightage, concentrated risk, and along with that, some level of index or stock below which you would वापस entry कर लेना ना. You should have some readiness of coming on a cash. This is a investing wala risk measures.
Point well taken. Now we open the floor for questions from the audience. So anyone willing to ask question to our esteemed panelist, please raise your hand. We'll do the needful.
Bhaiya, allow me to be greedy and ask our esteemed panelists if they could suggest any specific stocks to us that we could just go and buy tomorrow. You've seen all the angles. You spent hours of research. Please, sir.
SW Solar is one idea that I'm very bullish on. The management changes and all that has happened. A lot of investment will go into the renewable energy space over the next 5-10 years. The PSU basket in the country will invest big time into that stock. And they have an African venture that they're working on. The Nigerian upheaval has caused a bit of delay, but if it does pan out, it could be a very big win for them. It is a US subsidiary through which they're doing it. Reliance has ownership in the stock now. We all know Reliance has a 100 gigawatt renewable energy plan. So 10 gigawatt goes to them per annum. That's a very big order for them. Beyond that also, I think the stock has a potential in terms of being the largest EPC player. Globally, they have presence not only in India. And the group overhang is more or less behind us. So even if I take conservative estimates, I'm betting for 1,000 rupees on the stock. Optimistic targets could be around 1,500. So it's a multi-bagger idea that I think that should do very well over the next 2 to 3 years. And every quarter you should see substantial improvement in the numbers from here on.
Thank you, sir. I'm not diversifying this one.
For me, it's a problem of plenty. To be able to give you only one stock is creating a problem, actually. Sorry. Abhi, you wanted a stock to be bought tomorrow. Sorry, tomorrow meaning Monday. Obviously, they all understand this. I think one could go out and buy D-Link on Monday. D-Link looks good. It's a company which is owned by a Taiwanese company. D-Link parentage is good, and it's into network products like routers and switches. And I think what they've recently done is they've come out with their one product range by the name of Eagle Pro, where they are embedding it with artificial intelligence. And they've come out with some smart home products. And plus, it's a small company, 1,000 crore market cap company, which could grow big. So long-term prospects also look good, and you never know, it could give you good returns even in the short term. So you could go and buy into a D-Link on Monday. And one other stock which I would like to talk about, if one is looking at positional point of view or positional pick. I think Engineers India Limited, which I've been recommending on air also, I'd recommended it recently. I think this stock looks good at the current levels. This company is again a world-class company into engineering projects and all. But their recent focus on green hydrogen is going to take them to places. And our government has already announced their plans to set up 4 lakh ton of production facility for green hydrogen. And as I was telling you, it's about time that a US president would be visiting India. So I think that could also be a trigger. So I think Engineers India Limited at the current levels can be bought into.
So I would ask a first question. What is the exit plan? Right? So exit plan is important. So I will say with a disclaimer that if Nifty falls more than 3%, you should exit probably the stocks. I like two stocks. Probably Vimta Labs is something which I like. Long term, very nice, good. And one of the factor which I pay a lot of attention is market cap to sales ratio. So in past, if you run a back test, right, all the stocks which has got a market cap to sales less than 0.5, promoter holding greater than 70%, and if you see the debt to equity below 0.1, and the moment it goes below 20 moving average, it can give you a return of about 40% in less than 2 to 3 months. That is my back test. Right, so Vimta Lab is among the stock. Another stock which I have identified and which looks very good is JK Paper. I think from a medium term perspective, CMP is about 370 rupees. I think stock can easily become a 500 rupees with the kind of situation. At this moment, I would buy hands down. For some reason, market either spends time in this zone for about 6 to 8 months, and or if market falls by 10%. Not before that. And I would buy HDFC Bank. In my opinion, HDFC Bank and Kotak Banks are two stocks in a large cap space since last 3 years has not gone anywhere. This has happened with Reliance for 9 years from 2009 to 2015. So there is one more back test that large cap stocks underperforms more than 3 to 4 year benchmark indices, then subsequent 3 years it has given a positive alpha of 15%. Now this is what I do for living, right? I design systems to understand. So I would buy HDFC, 14% weightage in Nifty, stock कहीं नहीं गया है, merger वो सब होना था हो गया है, चला नहीं है, for some reason गलती से अगर 1600 मिल जाता है तो ले लेने का. One of my client who is VP at HDFC Bank, उसके पास 2.5 लाख शेयर है HDFC Bank के, 2.5 लाख, तो 40 करोड़ का माल है. तो बोलता है साहब लास्ट 25 साल में कुछ नहीं किया है, स्टॉक नीचे आता है तो ले लेते हैं, राइट. तो मैंने बोला इस बार मैं भी करूंगा, इस बार मेरे पास भी पैसे हैं. तो HDFC बैंक, कोटक बैंक, JK पेपर एंड विम्टा लैब्स. या थैंक यू.
Thank you so much, sir. So we've got no-brainers like HDFC, Kotak. We've got freshness of AI and solar. I think our hearts are full, filled with gratitude. Is there anyone who would like to ask a question from the audience? Yes, I think most of the questions have been answered. Vinod uncle will ask something.
सर मैं वीके गोयल चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हूँ और 1974 से इन्वेस्ट कर रहा हूँ. 1974 से इन्वेस्ट कर रहा हूँ. 1974 से इन्वेस्टर हूँ और इन्वेस्टर इन द ट्रू सेंस. तो मैंने कभी ट्रेडिंग नहीं की, कभी ऑप्शन नहीं किया. लेकिन अब जो समझ में आता है कि पूरे यूनिवर्स को अगर लें शेयर मार्केट को, तो जो कुछ से 50% लोग लूज़ कर रहे हैं वही 50% दूसरा गेन कर रहा है. तो बड़ा कन्फ्यूज़न एराइज होता है कि भाई आफ्टर ऑल कमा कौन रहा है, जो दूसरे 10%. आप कहेंगे कि साहब आप उस 10% वाली कैटेगरी में आओ, 90 वाली में मत आओ. लेकिन ये बात तो सही है ना कि जैसे अभी आपने कहा ये जेके पेपर, ये मैं होल्ड कर रहा हूँ करीब 20,000 शेयर 60 रुपये से, जो कि 500 गया था. आप आज 500 का टारगेट दे रहे, 500 गया था. अब जब कहीं से बात करो तो वो बोलता है पेपर की स्टोरी ख़त्म, ये कंप्यूटर हो गया, वो हो गया, तो पेपर कौन लेगा, कौन लिखेगा. तो ये जो इस तरह की चीज़ें हैं, इनको कैसे फैक्टर इन करें.
जहाँ तक आपने क्वेश्चन पूछा ट्रेडिंग और इन्वेस्टिंग, 18 लाख करोड़ के ऊपर का टर्नओवर होता है एक्सचेंज पे एवरी डे, राइट. एंड 80-90% हैपेंस इन द ऑप्शंस. अब आप ऐसा बोलते हो तो आई एम नॉट डिनाइंग द फैक्ट दैट लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टिंग अच्छा नहीं है, बट लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टिंग में हमारे यहाँ कितने वारेन बफेट है, सबने पैसा तो बनाया ही है. उनका लॉन्ग टर्म CAGR पूछ लो, 18-19% है क्या, पहली बात. दूसरी बात, मैंने मेरे लाइफ का सारा पैसा ट्रेडिंग से बनाया है, उसको इन्वेस्ट किया है, एंड आई एम एट द हाईएस्ट पीक ऑफ माय लाइफ. अगले 5 साल में आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग टू डू फिनोमिनल. तो क्या मैं इन्वेस्ट नहीं करूँगा? मैं करूँगा. व्हाट आई हैव रियलाइज इज दैट वेयर आर यू इन्वेस्टिंग. आई डोंट वांट टू इन्वेस्ट इन एनीवेयर जहाँ पे मीडियोकर रिटर्न हो. आई वांट टू इन्वेस्ट जहाँ पे 10x से कम हो ही नहीं. सो इन्वेस्ट इन अ बिजनेस जहाँ पे आपको समझ हो कि 10x है। जहाँ तक न्यू एज टेक्नोलॉजी स्टॉक की बात है, वैल्यूएशन सपोर्ट ही नहीं करता उस चीज़ को। तो मैं सिंपल अगर फंडामेंटल स्कैन रन करता हूँ कि जब जब स्टॉक का P 40 के ऊपर है, या उसका मार्केट कैप टू सेल्स रेशियो सपोज 7 है, या कैश फ्लो टू मार्केट कैप रेशियो सपोज 5 के ऊपर है, क्या हुआ है, स्टॉक चलता ही नहीं है 3-4 साल। अब आप बहुत अच्छे हो कि आप पार्किंग के पैसे दे रहे हो और उसको होल्ड करके बैठे हो, मुझे नहीं, वहाँ नहीं रहना है, मुझे वहाँ रहना है जहाँ स्पार्क है। सो टू आंसर योर क्वेश्चन, ट्रेडिंग से पैसा बनता है अगर आप डिसिप्लिन हो तो। ट्रेडिंग से पैसा बनता है अगर आपके पास साउंड सिस्टम हो तो। ट्रेडिंग से पैसा बनता है जब आपने अपने इमोशन को अलग करते हो। और ट्रेडिंग से पैसा एक हद तक बनता है, फिर उसको इन्वेस्ट तो करना ही है, पर क्या इन्वेस्ट हर जगह पे करोगे? मुझे लगता है मार्केट साल में, और वैभव भाई ने मुझसे कहा, साल में 1-2 अपॉर्चुनिटी देता है जहाँ पे आपको बड़ा पैसा इन्वेस्ट करना है, और 3 या 4 साल में वो बड़ा। आई विल टेल यू माई एग्जाम्पल। आई वॉज वर्किंग इन इनिशियल पार्ट ऑफ माई करियर, 22 साल का था, और मैंने 2008 का टॉप पकड़ा, बहुत खुश था, ठीक है। पर रिटेल क्या करेंगे, ब्रोकर के क्लाइंट जो होते हैं रिटेल, उनको कुछ नहीं चाहिए, उनको अगले दिन वो 2 रुपये का ऑप्शन ही लेना है, तो उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। तो मैंने सोचा मैं इंस्टीट्यूशन चला जाता हूँ। आई वेंट टू इंस्टीट्यूशन एंड आई प्रेडिक्टेड 2009 बॉटम कि हो गया है। यू नो व्हाट माय इंस्टीट्यूशन रिसर्च हैड सेड कि बॉस तू टाटा स्टील पे बाय दे रहा है, इसका तो EPS ही नहीं रहेगा। अगले दिन टाटा स्टील 20% ऊपर था, और ये पब्लिक अवेलेबल रिपोर्ट है। और मैंने एक्सचेंज 7,500 BSE पे बाय रिपोर्ट लिखा था, 18,000 का टारगेट बेस्ड ऑन व्हाट एवर आई डू, राइट। तो अब मुझे समझ में आया कि मुझे उस वक्त लेना था पर पैसे ही नहीं थे। तो उसके बाद, और आई स्पेंड 18 आवर्स अ डे ऑन मार्केट, वॉट एवर आई डू, आई राइट मशीन लर्निंग कोड से लेके मैं ट्रेडिंग करता हूँ। मुझे एक ही समझ में आया, इन्वेस्ट तब करो जब अपॉर्चुनिटी फैंटास्टिक हो। और अगर आपको लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्ट करके देखना नहीं है तो वो तो फिर आप पैसे भी कर सकते हो ना, उसके लिए आपको मार्केट में फुल टाइम रहने की क्या ज़रूरत है। मार्केट का स्विंग्स है ना। अभी सर ने बोला, डॉक्टर मेहता जी ने, कि 8 रुपये वाला 80 हो गया $, तो उसमें 39 पे भी तो एंट्री मिल रहा था, और वो 39 का एंट्री था। मैं बताऊँ वो क्या लॉजिक था। 2.5 साल तक डॉलर चला नहीं था। 2007-2011 का जो फेज था वो साइडवेज फेज में था 2009 के बाद में। अभी लास्ट 1.5 साल से डॉलर चला ही नहीं। अब आप बैक टेस्ट रन कर लो, जब जब डॉलर मोर देन 5% इंक्रीज होता है, इक्विटी मार्केट वो पीरियड में परफॉर्म ही नहीं करता है। सो टाइम द मार्केट इज नॉट एवरीबडीज कप ऑफ टी, बट एट द सेम टाइम आई वुड से दैट मुझे पर्सनली लगता है US और यूरोपियन मार्केट जो है वो ट्रेडिंग मार्केट हो गया है। और मैंने कहीं पढ़ा था, और मैं डराना नहीं चाहता हूँ, आई एम नॉट अ पेसिमिस्टिक, आई एम अ वेरी बुलिश पर्सन एंड आई एम अ वेरी ऑप्टिमिस्टिक पर्सन, बट मैं ऐसा मानता हूँ कि सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट होता है आपका एंट्री। जापान का जब हाईएस्ट पीक ग्रोथ आया था, उसके बाद 30 साल तक मार्केट चला नहीं है। तो कल क्या अगर कोलेशन सरकार आ जाएगी, अगर 5 साल तक बाजार नहीं चलेगा? आई एम नॉट सेइंग, आई डोंट वांट टू बी दैट स्टूपिड टू इन्वेस्ट इन द मार्केट। आई एम वेरी वेरी क्लियर विथ माई थिंग। एंट्री क्राइटेरिया है, एग्जिट क्राइटेरिया है। इंडिया में इन्वेस्ट तब करेंगे जब सब बेच रहे होंगे तब, और घर बार लगा के करेंगे। लेकिन उससे पहले आप वो करो जो आपको 2-3 टका दे सकता है लार्ज कैपिटल पे, फिर मैं उसको लिवरेज भी ले सकता हूँ ना, राइट। यू कैन गेट अ सो फॉर एन एग्जाम्पल, आप 5 करोड़ लगाओ, आपको ब्रोकर 25 करोड़ देता है। 25 करोड़ पे आप 3% या 2% बनाने की कोशिश करो, इनिशियल कैपिटल पे तो डबल हो रहा है। 4 साल करके देखो ये चीज़ को। सो इन माई ओपिनियन ट्रेडिंग इज अ वेरी वेरी डिसिप्लिन जॉब, नॉट एवरीबडीज कप ऑफ टी। इन्वेस्टिंग ऑन द अदर हैंड इज फॉर दोज पीपल जो लॉन्ग टर्म राइट टाइम करते हैं। लॉन्ग टर्म राइट टाइम भी एक अलग चीज़ होती है। 10% नीचे जब इंडेक्स आया, आप इन्वेस्ट कर दो, कोई भी भाव हो, कोई भी स्टॉक हो, अगले 3 साल में पॉजिटिव रिटर्न ही है। ये बैक टेस्ट है 40 साल का, आपको कोई स्मार्ट होने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। तो पहले, अभी मार्केट रैली कर चुका है इतना ज़्यादा, यहाँ पे अगर आप लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टिंग करोगे 20% नीचे मिलता है, तो वहाँ क्यों नहीं लेने का। सो मैं पर्सनली हमेशा ऐसा, पॉलीप्लेक्स का एग्जांपल, मैंने क्वांटामेंटल टाइम किया था 650 में, 2800 रुपये हो गया, अभी 1100 रुपये हो गया, तो मैं वहाँ क्यों एग्जिट नहीं करूँ। 1 करोड़ का माल लिया है तो आधा हो गया ना, आप समझ रहे हो। तो आप वापस रीएंट्री कर सकते हो अगर आप बुलिश हो तो मुझे पर्सनली ऐसा लगता है इन्वेस्टिंग इज़ वेरी 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 गुड, प्रोवाइडेड आपका आउटलुक आपके जैसा है 25 साल, और 25 साल का CAGR क्या होता है 18-19%, बस उसके बीच में पीरियड। तो मैंने ये बहुत डेटा क्रंच करके ये फाइंड आउट किया है कि देयर आर पीरियड्स व्हेन इक्विटी डजंट परफॉर्म, तब क्या होता है, यील्ड्स आर गोइंग हायर, करेंसीज आर वीकनिंग, पॉलिटिकल इंस्टेबिलिटी। ये 3 एनवायरनमेंट दिखे, वहाँ पे इक्विटी का एक्सपोजर थोड़ा सा डिसेंट रखने का, या लार्ज कैप तक ही रखने का। और मिड कैप के भाव तो मतलब औने पौने हो जाते हैं, तो क्यों रखने का। सो मैं पर्सनली, टू लॉन्ग स्टोरी शॉर्ट, इन्वेस्टिंग मैं तब करता हूँ जब मुझे अच्छे स्टॉक्स में अच्छी एंट्री मिलती है, अदरवाइज मैं ट्रेडिंग करता हूँ।
So big round of applause for all our panelists. they have taken out time from their busy schedules to give their views, share their views, and enlighten us. Thanks a lot, sir. I would like to invite Mr. Rakesh Somani to give the vote of thanks, please.
At first, maybe not on the right platform, but thank you, Hemant. Whenever we meet and in any of the gatherings, the kind of honor you give to me, I'm really grateful to you. But let me tell you, that may be a coincidence that on the first day we had a few chit chat about ANMI and how when you joined, but you actually are a star with your capabilities, with your charm, with your personality, with your nature. Undoubtedly, you are one of the most popular member of ANMI. Let me thank our eminent speaker, and if as a vote of thank, if I had to sum up, this would have become another session for me. So I would have given you another session. So instead of summing up, I thank each one of you to give us different enlightenment and different ways of managing the money and investments. And one thing which I learned, that we as an investor and trader, we play as complex as chess game or a tennis game, but rather we play more complex game. And one thing which is common from Dr. Mehta and the entire team, we all are bullish about India, so we take pride in India. So thank you all for being a part of us. Especially thank our sponsors, NSEIL, Smiths and Excel Stock, and each one of you to be part of this great celebration and bringing the entire board of ANMI to Calcutta to have our board meeting tomorrow. Thank you, ANMI National, to give us the opportunity to host the board of directors meeting here. Thank you very much. Won't keep you long for dinner. Please join us in dinner. The ANMI entire board will have a photo. Yeah. Yeah.
श्री विजय सिंघानिया जी अपने फाउंडर हैं, पूर्व प्रेसिडेंट हैं, और जैसे मैं बताऊं आपको, यहाँ कलकत्ते में एक पंखे का एडवर्टाइजमेंट चला करता था खेतान का, उसकी एड की टैग लाइन होती थी कि नाम ही काफ़ी है, तो सिंघानिया जी का नाम ही काफ़ी है। तो अच्छा नहीं, और जो डिस्टिंक्शन है सिंघानिया जी का, जो आज एनमी को इंटरनेशनल प्लेटफॉर्म्स पे रिकॉग्निशन करवाना, आईएसको में, एफिया में या केएसडीए वगैरह में, उसमें इनका सबसे बड़ा योगदान रहा है। और अभी अभी ये 10 दिन पहले ही सियोल जाके आए हैं। तो मैं बोलूँगा श्री अनूप जी खंडेलवाल को, हमारे ये भी पूर्व प्रेसिडेंट हैं, इनको ऑनर करें पुष्पगुच्छ प्रदान करके।
सॉरी आपने इतना वेट किया यार, मैं एक्चुअली 1 घंटा 20 मिनट।
मिलन भाई शाह की फ़्लाइट थोड़ी लेट आई थी। आप वेस्टर्न रीजन के चेयरमैन हैं और जेनाम फाइनेंस ब्रोकिंग के, इनकी फर्म जो है, इनका करीबन 100 सिटीज़ में प्रेजेंस है और अच्छा खासा इनका कवरेज है। तो जेनाम भाई को मैं ऑनर करने के लिए बोलता हूँ। श्री आत्मा जी मथरान, आत्मा जी, श्री मिलन शाह जी को आप पुष्पगुच्छ प्रदान करके सम्मानित करें। Thank you all for bearing with me.
Dr. Prashad, I think, we wrapped it up a little fast. Let me introduce our CEO, Dr. Prashad, to all the members, and he is one point contact for all your queries. Dr. Prashad, please, let's join for dinner and we can have informal chit chat over there. Please.